Drag this little brat outside and beat him to death for me. That lying child squeezed out a few tears, and now I'm about to lose my life. With a blind ruler like you who can't tell right from wrong, no wonder Western Chu falls 10 years from now. The tyrant froze in alarm. The child's lips clearly hadn't moved at all. And yet he had heard every word. Could he be hearing this child's inner voice? To stay alive, she had to live disguised as a boy. Yet the very father who longed for a daughter now wanted her beaten to death. Let's rewind. Juju had been an orphan with no father and no mother, unlucky from the day she was born. One day she won a fortune in the lottery. The next, a man leapt from a building and landed on her, killing her on the spot. She was so furious she grabbed the tongues of the guards of impermanence and tore up King Yama's court. To soothe her, King Yama promised that in her next life she would be a princess adored by her whole family. But when she woke, she found herself lying in a crumbling room. Her mother showed no joy at her birth either. There was only loneliness in her eyes. His Majesty may long for a daughter, but I am confined to the cold palace, branded a traitor who colluded with the enemy. To keep her safe, we will tell the world I gave birth to a prince. She will live as a boy. That way no one will envy her. Juju was stunned. King Yama, you are the biggest fraud there is. Where's the adored princess? Where's the wealth and glory? Fine, let it all burn. And just like that, 5 years slipped by. Never mind meeting the emperor. She barely had enough food and clothing to get through the day. She had resigned herself to this life. Then one day, a haughty girl shattered the quiet. Who's that little runt up in the tree? You see County Princess Anyang and you don't kneel? Runt? Who is she talking to? And why does the name County Princess Anyang sound so familiar? Then it hit her like a bolt of lightning. Juju remembered everything. She had been reborn inside a period novel. County Princess Anyang was its heroine. Her freebie father had no daughter, so he took a girl of the imperial clan, Feng Kaiwei, and raised her in the palace. He doted on her like his own blood and promised her to the crown prince. Later, when Western Chu fell, Feng Kaiwei drifted to the southern kingdom. From palace maid, she climbed all the way to empress, and with the southern emperor, she united the realm. A heroine with every advantage handed to her. And Juju, the throwaway princess with a murky identity, would be beaten to death today by her own father. Feng Kaiwei advanced on her step by step. What's your name? Which palace does your worthless kind come from? The arrogant county princess raised her hand to strike. You dare look down on me? I could have you killed. Juju threw up an arm to block her. What are you doing? Back off. Feng Kaiwei shook with rage. Then the corner of her mouth curled into a sinister smile. The next second she burst into tears. Uncle Emperor, this boy stole my things and he said he'd claw my face open. Juju's eyes went wide. She flips faster than a page in a book. A chill suddenly crawled up her back. She turned around. The tyrant was standing there, his face dark. Seize that brat for me. He dares bully Wei Wei? I'll have him chopped up. With one hand he soothed the sniffling Feng Kaiwei. With the other he turned and glared murderously at Juju. Juju's heart sank. Is this tyrant really going to finish me off? Even a fierce tiger doesn't eat its own cub. He's my father, my own flesh and blood. The words reached the emperor's ears, and he froze where he stood. Did this brat just speak? But his lips never moved. Could that be his inner voice? Who is this boy? Which palace? The eunuch answered respectfully. The 18th prince, son of consort Li of the Cold Palace. Juju wanted to curse. You're actually going through with it? What's so precious about that little liar? When did I ever steal from her? She saw I was prettier, so she wanted to claw my face. She made up a story, squeezed out a few tears, and you swallowed all of it. Laughable. With a ruler who can't tell black from white, no wonder Western Chu is doomed. Western Chu doomed? The emperor's heart lurched. Hold on, there's something I want to ask. He turned to Feng Kaiwei. Wei Wei, tell me, what exactly did he steal from you? Feng Kaiwei had no answer. Usually one word from her and the emperor dealt with it. Why so many questions today? So she quietly tossed her own bracelet into the grass. Uncle Emperor, he stole my gold bracelet, and he threw it over there so I wouldn't find out. Juju nearly rolled her eyes out of her head. You think everyone's an idiot? Of all places to throw it, you throw it right behind yourself. Anyone with working eyes would see it unless they're blind. The emperor, jabbed by that thought, went blank. I don't need you to tell me, brat. I can see it myself. He looked back at Feng Kaiwei, and now there was anger in his eyes. I love you so dearly. Anything you want I give you, and yet you lie to me. Must I call the guards over before you tell the truth? Feng Hiwei dropped to her knees with a thud. Wei Wei will never dare again. Guards, take Feng Hiwei to the Empress Dowager. When she has learned some manners, return her to noble consort Jiang. Juju blinked. Has this tyrant discovered he has a conscience? Why has he suddenly turned so clear-headed? No sooner had she thought it than she found the emperor glaring straight at her. Feng Hiwei feared the Empress Dowager most of all and ran weeping to noble consort Jiang for help. Noble consort Jiang panicked too. Wei Wei was her card for keeping the emperor's favor. With the girl gone, why would he ever visit her palace? Your Majesty, you love Wei Wei most. How can you bear to let her suffer? Silence. Anyang turned out this way because you failed to raise her properly. From today you are confined as well, and you will reflect on it. Just then the emperor caught sight of Juju trying to slip away. He kept his face calm, but inside he was puzzled. Every word this brat says is true. But why can I hear his inner voice? Could he be some kind of demon? Pinned by his stare, Juju's skin crawled. The truth is out already, isn't it? So why is he still looking at me like that? He's not still planning to kill me, is he? Please no. Juju is terrified of pain. But the emperor was only studying her carefully. The brat said Wei Wei envied his looks. Let me see just how good-looking he is. A face as pale and fine as jade, more delicate than all 17 of his brothers. If only he were a girl, how lovely that would be. At that the emperor let out a wistful sigh. Fuan, take the 18th prince back. Juju glanced back at the emperor. My freebie dad isn't stupid after all. If he'd been this clear-headed sooner, he'd never have listened to villains and locked my mother in the cold palace. And he won't end well either. Soon the bridge over the lake will collapse and he'll break his leg. Whatever. He never cared whether mother and I lived or died. The emperor nearly coughed up blood. The little brat is cursing me in his head again. Fuan walked her to the gate of the cold palace. But at the parting, Juju couldn't bring herself to stay quiet. Sir, please remind my father later. When he reaches the lakeside in the Imperial Garden, have him wait the time it takes to drink 1 cup of tea before crossing the bridge. Elsewhere, the emperor could not settle his mind. He stared at the calm water, turning Juju's words over and over. Whether the kingdom falls in 10 years, who can say? But a broken leg can be tested right now. Just then, Fuan caught up with him. Your Majesty, wait. Let us take a cup of tea first. The emperor was quietly pleased. That brat must have sent Fuan to stop me, so he does have a bit of a conscience. So he sat down and drank his tea and watched to see whether that bridge would fall. 2.5 quiet minutes passed. The emperor's expression shifted. It seems the boy isn't always right after all. Just then an attendant came to report. Several ministers were waiting in the study on an urgent matter. His Majesty rose to leave. The next second came a thunderous crash. The entire bridge collapsed into the water. A chill ran down the emperor's spine. He didn't dare imagine what would have happened had he stepped onto it. If it hadn't killed him, it would have left him crippled. And Western Chu, leaderless, would have torn itself apart. So the boy really can see the future. This is no demon. This is a blessing sent to Western Chu. The emperor sat in silence a long while, then dismissed everyone in the study and kept only the state preceptor. Now I am going to the cold palace. Elsewhere, Juju had just returned to the cold palace. Her mother held her and wept. You frightened me half to death. Years ago, your brother slipped out just once and they threw him into the imperial prison. He still hasn't been released. You're all I have left. Seeing her mother's grief, Juju reached up with a tiny hand and wiped away her tears. Don't cry, mother. When Juju grows up, I'll give you a good life. As for her brother, the time wasn't right yet. She had to wait for a certain person to return to the palace. Her mother looked at her with tenderness. I don't need a good life. As long as my Juju is safe, I have enough. Juju's chest tightened. Mother is beautiful and kind. What a waste on that blind old man. What she didn't know was that from the moment she was born, her mother had always heard her inner voice. Her mother only smiled fondly, so small, and already carrying so much inside. Suddenly a maid rushed in. It's bad. His Majesty is coming. Consort Li went rigid at once. For His Majesty to come to the cold palace out of nowhere, this can't be good. Juju, go hide. No matter what happens, don't come out. But Juju knew exactly why the emperor was coming. She comforted her mother. Don't be afraid. Maybe father has come to take us out of here. Her mother's face turned bleak. I expect we'll spend our whole lives in this cold palace. A voice announced the emperor's arrival. A second later, the tyrant appeared in the doorway. He looked around the cold palace. Conditions this harsh. This is no place for a human being. But the instant he saw Consort Li, the emperor's eyes lit up. In nothing but coarse cloth, she was still this beautiful, and somehow even more graceful than before. Once seated, the tyrant began calculating, Juju saved my life, she deserves a reward. But with all these people around, I can hardly announce that she sees the future. If word gets out and she sulks and stops telling me things, then what? He glanced at Consort Li, and the corner of his mouth lifted. I've been thinking again about your alleged treason, and the matter isn't as simple as it seemed. I intend to reopen the case. And since you raised the 18th prince well, from today you will move out of the cold palace. So my freebie dad does have a conscience after all. Keep it up and I might even start liking you. The tyrant's mouth twitched. Everyone under heaven likes me. I hardly need one more. Then Juju's eyes dimmed. My freebie dad certainly doesn't need me to like him. I was flattering myself. The emperor felt a stab of guilt. That does sound rather pitiful coming from the brat. Just then someone came to hurry him back to the study to discuss the war. The emperor granted Chiushui Hall to Consort Li and hurried off. But as her freebie dad reached the door, Juju suddenly remembered. In this campaign, Western Chu doesn't just lose. 30,000 soldiers die. Then he has to cede land and pay reparations. Poor man. The emperor's heart clenched. Defeated? 30,000 elite troops dead? Is this the omen of a falling kingdom? Your Majesty, why have you stopped? They're still waiting. I'm rather thirsty. I'll have a cup of tea before I go. He sat down and stared at Juju, waiting for her to think further about the war. Juju only stared back, bewildered. Then she rubbed her eyes and got ready for a nap. Good heavens, your own father is facing the fall of his kingdom. Your father is going up in smoke here and you can still sleep? The emperor hurried after her to the bedside. Watching her drool in her sleep, her freebie dad grew frantic. In desperation, he grabbed Juju and shook her. Wake up, brat. Keep thinking about what you were thinking about. Consort Li's eyes filled with tears. Your Majesty, what are you doing? Even if you don't care for Juju, you can't treat her this way. I do not dislike her. I simply want to nap beside Juju. Yes, that's it exactly. I have never once been at her side since she was born. Today I will nap with her. Everyone else out. Once the room emptied, he lay down beside her and actually tried to lull her to sleep. Juju, what am I to do if we lose the war? Half asleep, Juju mumbled. It's because a southern spy stole the military intelligence. That's why Western Chu loses. The emperor's heart jumped. He leaned closer and coaxed out more. Juju, eyes drooping, rolled over and muttered, It's that concubine way, isn't it? Faking a pregnancy so she can haunt my freebie dad's study all day. That's how the intelligence leaks, and that's why Western Chu loses. The emperor wanted to press further and took a small fist to the face. If my freebie dad slipped them a false report to steal, Western Chu could flip the whole war and crush the southern kingdom. What a fine idea! I nearly went and killed Concubine Wei on impulse. The brat is rather clever after all. With his answer in hand, her freebie dad beamed and covered her small face with kisses. All Juju knew was that some enormous fly had been buzzing around, ruining her sleep. Early the next morning, Fuan came to escort mother and daughter out of the cold palace. Consort Li remembered Nanny Gui's years of care and wanted to bring her along. A small matter, your ladyship may decide for yourself. This servant will inform the household office. Juju happily took both their hands. From today, it's a new beginning. As for the servants who had scorned them daily, all they could do now was envy them. Days later, urgent news came from the front. Using the false report, Western Chu had crushed the southern kingdom. The enemy had already sent envoys to sue for peace and discuss ceding land and paying reparations. The emperor was overjoyed and set off at once for Chiushui Hall to reward Juju. But at that moment, the state preceptor requested an audience. He said his years were spent, and he had a few last words for His Majesty. I have read the heavens by night, and in 10 years, Western Chu faces the fall of the kingdom. The only way to avert it is the 18th prince. Your Majesty must believe in the little prince and keep him safe. Seeing how earnest he was, the emperor nodded in agreement. But there is one more thing. I have so many sons and not a single daughter. Is that simply fate? The state preceptor left only one line, that the will of heaven cannot be revealed, then collapsed and passed away. Over at Chiushui Hall, Juju was happily riding a swing. Then she saw her freebie dad walk in with a face like thunder. He did not know whether the state preceptor had simply reached his end or died for revealing heaven's secrets. Juju was baffled. We just won the war. Why is my freebie dad's face so long? Then she remembered. This was when the state preceptor died. The brat knows about that too. The emperor seized her by the shoulders. The preceptor died so suddenly. I don't know if his years were spent or if there was another cause. What's wrong with my freebie dad today? He's making no sense. Of course his years were spent. Only then did her freebie dad breathe out, scoop her up, and plant a loud kiss on her cheek. I just got kissed by an old man. I'm not pure anymore. The emperor's mouth twitched. One kiss and you're this aggrieved in that case. I'll give you something to be aggrieved about. And he lifted her up and kissed her again and again. Consort Lee thought the dazed look on Juju's face was adorable. So she held her still and kissed her for a good while too. Kissing on a whim. These two have very strange minds. But in her last life she had no father and no mother. Only now did she truly feel what it meant to have parents. Her mother and her freebie dad both froze. In her last life, Juju was an orphan, and both silently resolved that in this life they would protect her with everything they had. The emperor had barely returned before carts of gold and jewels arrived. Juju picked up a little dress and studied it. Mother, can Juju wear girls' clothes now? Consort Lee shook her head. The treason charge isn't cleared yet, and our family is still exiled in the frozen north. We are still in danger. Juju nodded obediently. She believed the clouds would part one day. Just then Nanny Gui came in. Consort Ching is here to visit. Shall we prepare refreshments? Juju frowned. Isn't Consort Ching one of Feng Kaiwei's people? Whenever some consort gains favor, she finds a way to move in with her. And every consort she shares quarters with vanishes without a trace. If she moves in with us, aren't Mother and I as good as dead? Consort Lee was stunned. You can know a face and never know the heart. Elsewhere, Feng Kaiwei's eyes were venomous. Then the rest is up to you, Consort Ching. Consort Ching's eyes looked steeped in poison. Rest assured, County Princess. This time I will secure a place in Chushui Hall and then seize the chance to kill Consort Lee and her child. Soon Consort Ching arrived at the door, all false warmth. Little sister, it's been so long. But Consort Lee's tone was flat. Please have a seat, elder sister. Slapped down before she was even through the door, Consort Ching bristled. Consort Lee hasn't seen me in ages. Shouldn't she be overjoyed? The 18th prince has grown so big. Come, let Consort Ching hold you. Juju recoiled. Stay away from me, you snake. Mother, help. Consort Lee caught her hand. The child is shy with strangers. Better not. Consort Ching let her eyes sweep across Chushui Hall. Little sister, this place is magnificent. Not like mine, plain and falling apart. Then have the household office repair it. What good does telling me do? Consort Ching launched straight into her act. I have no children, so the household office makes life difficult for me. Who would repair anything for me? But the robe you're wearing is shoe brocade. If the household office judged people by their standing, how could you afford such fine cloth? Consort Ching forced a smile. The truth is, I worried you'd be lonely here in Chushui Hall, so I thought of moving in to keep you company. Consort Lee dropped the pretense as well. I spent years in the cold palace and you never spared me a thought. Now that I live well, suddenly you worry. If you want to cut ties with me, just say so. No need to talk in circles. With that, she turned to leave. If I threaten to cut ties, she'll surely panic. Then I can stay in Chushui Hall with perfect justification. But Consort Lee not only failed to stop her, she called for the guests to be shown out. Two maids stepped forward at once and carried Consort Ching straight outside. Juju watched with deep satisfaction. Mother is magnificent. Mother is fierce. Getting rid of Consort Ching removes one more danger. But no sooner had Consort Ching left than the 10th and 11th princes arrived. The two hovered outside the door, not daring to come in. Juju was puzzled. Why is Mother so cold toward them? In the novel, they were close with my own brother. After the 13th brother's misfortune, those two kept trying to save him. In the end, it cost them their lives. Hearing her daughter's inner voice, the mother invited them in. A moment later, the two boys bowed respectfully. My brother and I came to congratulate you on leaving the cold palace. As for 13th brother, we will find a way. Since you're here, come in for a cup of tea before you go. The two boys stared blankly. They doubted their own ears. Every previous meeting with Consort Lee had ended in a scolding. Consort Lee took both boys by the hand. 3 years in the cold palace taught me the warmth and cruelty of this world. I know you meant well. Oh, both my brothers are so handsome. Juju is praising me. No, wait. Juju never opened her mouth. We only heard her inner voice. This must never leave this room. We are her brothers. We have to protect Juju. Then the two of them fought over who would hold her, regretting they hadn't come sooner. What's all this cheerful chatter about? Tell me too. Ignoring the 10th prince's wounded look, her freebie dad lifted Juju straight out of his arms. Juju is mine. What are you two brats fighting over? Watching Juju be carried off, the 10th prince felt thoroughly wronged. Your faces look terrible. Go find a physician. He steals Juju and now he's chasing them out. It's almost time for the midday meal. They're this old and have never once eaten with father. Father Juju likes her brothers. Juju wants to eat with them. Then we'll do as Juju says. All of you stay for the meal. Moments later at the table, the two boys were too frightened to pick up their chopsticks. Afraid they'd go hungry, Juju piled both their bowls high. When she turned back, she caught the emperor staring at Consort Lee. Why is my freebie dad looking at mother like that? Look at that expression. Exactly like an old goat. Everyone who heard her inner voice froze and nearly sprayed rice across the table. Juju placed a piece of braised pork in her father's bowl. Eat up, father. Once you're full, stop leering at my mother. In the middle of all this warmth, someone came in to report. County Princess Anyang has knelt outside for 3 hours. She says if your majesty doesn't forgive her, she will never rise. His majesty's face darkened. Instead of learning manners from the Empress Dowager, she comes here to kneel? If she wants to kneel, let her kneel. Just then, Feng Kaiwei's own parents came rushing to Chushui Hall. Wei Wei has knelt in the rain this long and your majesty feels nothing. Why must our precious daughter suffer like this? Wei Wei, get up. Your father and I are taking you home. You are the only daughter of the imperial house. I don't believe he can bear to lose you. But Feng Kaiwei knelt without moving. If his majesty won't forgive me, I will never rise. There was pure stubbornness in her eyes. She had to win her uncle's forgiveness, or every bit of favor and luxury would vanish like smoke. A moment later, the eunuch returned. Your majesty, there's trouble. Prince Duan and his wife mean to take the county princess home. It took great effort to keep her in the palace all those years ago. His majesty said nothing, his face grim. Only Juju was muttering to herself. Clearly the county princess is courting disaster, and Prince Duan and his wife don't know their place either. Would an emperor really let himself be blackmailed? The emperor looked at Juju with satisfaction. Brat, you really do understand me. Guards, escort the entire household of Prince Duan out of the palace. From now on, they may not enter unless summoned. They used leaving as a threat, so I will grant their wish. The decree came swiftly. Prince Duan's household was struck dumb. How can this be? Doesn't His Majesty love our daughter most? He didn't even ask us to stay. This is all because you two insisted on leaving the palace. If you hadn't angered Uncle Emperor, I wouldn't be thrown out. Feng Kaiwei refused to accept it. As long as she stayed in the palace, there was still a chance. She would need something drastic. She looked at the lotus urn beside her, gritted her teeth, and threw herself at it. The eunuch came rushing back. County Princess Anyang struck the urn and fainted. She needs to recover in the palace. She is the only princess we have, after all. Who cares about someone else's daughter? I have a princess of my own. Then he turned to Juju with a scheming look. Good grief, what's he up to? Why is my freebie dad smirking like that? From somewhere, the emperor produced a little dress. Juju, wouldn't you like to wear something this pretty? Juju refused violently. I won't. The next second, the emperor leaned close to her ear. If you put it on, I'll give you 500 taels of gold. The onlookers were stunned. His Majesty's tastes are extreme. He must be losing his mind over wanting a daughter. The 18th prince is a boy with pride. He must be humiliated inside. He might start crying and never stop. But instead, Juju's eyes lit up. Wear a pretty dress and get paid for it. Does the world really offer deals this good? Juju will wear it. And off she went, shouting 500 taels all the way to the dressing room. A while later, dressed and made up, Juju walked out in her lovely little gown. The moment he saw her, her freebie dad's heart skipped a beat. Hair black as ink, skin white as snow. She landed straight in the softest corner of his heart. He lifted her up and kissed her over and over. My good Juju, from now on, could we simply weld those clothes onto you? Father has prepared a whole wardrobe of girls' clothing for you. Name any condition, Juju, and father will meet it. Juju has no conditions. Juju loves dressing like this. Born a girl, she had finally gotten her wish. Her freebie dad picked her up in delight and spun her around. With Juju, I have a daughter after all. Her two brothers, not knowing she was a girl, were indignant on her behalf. Juju, you're being humiliated. Don't worry, we'll get you back to being a boy. Juju was too happy to feel humiliated. But then she remembered something important. 10th brother, 11th brother. Come see Juju tomorrow. Whether you two can befriend the crown prince all comes down to tomorrow. The two brothers exchanged a glance. Even getting near the crown prince was difficult. Could someone this small really help them? Early the next morning, the three of them crept to the elephant house. According to the novel, the crown prince would come to inspect the elephants today, be gored by a maddened one, and nearly lose his life. And Feng Kaiwei would save him with a clever scheme. That was how the crown prince fell for her at first sight. With that in mind, she looked at her brothers. They say the elephants here are vicious. If someone were attacked, would you save them? Of course we would. The words had barely left her mouth when the crown prince's carriage arrived. He had come to review the elephants in preparation for the coming campaign. The first part went smoothly, but then they reached the last elephant. The agitated beast caught an unfamiliar scent. The next second, it charged straight at the carriage. The violent impact hurled the crown prince through the air. He landed right at the elephant's feet. With a single roar, the elephant raised a foot and brought it down on him. In that instant, the two princes leapt forward. The 10th prince used bananas to draw the elephant's attention. The 11th prince seized the moment and rushed in to pull the crown prince out. The bananas distracted the beast, but it still meant to attack. Shielding the crown prince with his body, the 11th prince took a full blow from its trunk. The crown prince opened his eyes in a daze and saw the 11th prince covering him. Just as the elephant prepared to strike again, the 10th prince hauled out a huge fruit basket. Look over here. Your favorite fruit basket. Then he hurled the basket into the iron cage. The moment the elephant went in after it, they locked the cage. The crown prince was finally safe. Juju let out a long breath. But she was curious. That elephant was ferocious. How did Feng Kaiwei save him in the novel? She turned around and saw Feng Kaiwei hiding in the distance. The crown prince was in such danger, and she just watched from the sidelines. Someone that selfish doesn't deserve his love. Only Yu Wanyin is his true match. She never married for his sake, disguised herself as a man to fight on the battlefield, and endured every humiliation in captivity without betraying her country. Juju made up her mind. She would help the crown prince find real love. Then she ran over to her brothers. Only then did she see the blood soaking the 11th prince. Before she could react, Juju, who could never stand the sight of blood, blacked out and collapsed. The next day in the Eastern Palace, His Majesty stayed at the crown prince's side. Thankfully, he was fine, only a knock to the head that needed rest. But the moment he woke, the crown prince's first question was how badly the 11th prince was hurt. That I survived it all is entirely thanks to 11th brother. His Majesty stiffened. Wasn't it County Princess Anyang who saved you? Everyone at the elephant house saw it. The servants chimed in together. The crown prince hit his head and remembers wrongly. We saw it clearly. It was County Princess Anyang who saved him. She saved the crown prince and deserves a great reward, Your Majesty. It's your heads that are damaged. Your entire families are damaged. His Majesty flew into a rage. Guards, drag them all out. The truth isn't even settled and someone is already arranging rewards? Just then a man ran in. Your Majesty, it's bad. Something has happened at Chushui Hall. The 18th princess has fainted. At Chushui Hall, the physician was tending to the 11th prince. A second later, the tyrant came running in. Who's injured? Where is my Juju? Father, I'm right here. Juju thought to herself, so my freebie dad finally came. 10th brother lured the elephant. 11th brother saved the crown prince. Both are hurt, and my freebie dad doesn't spare them a glance. Only then did His Majesty understand. The 11th was wounded saving the crown prince. From now on, you will spend more time with the crown prince and share his burdens. Juju was secretly delighted. Excellent. That means real duties for 11th brother. 10th, you kept your head in danger, brave and clever both. You two will assist the crown prince from now on. Juju muttered beside them. Did my freebie dad forget? There's still a little liar he hasn't dealt with. Meanwhile, in the Eastern Palace, Feng Kaiwei was gloating. This performance, risking my life for the crown prince, will surely win back the emperor's favor. The Crown Prince and I already have a betrothal. Now that I've saved him too, he'll love me to the bone. At that very moment, the decree arrived. County Princess Anyang has falsely claimed another's merit in saving a life, an act of deceiving her sovereign. But in view of her years at my side, from today her title of County Princess Anyang is stripped, and the betrothal decree revoked. Feng Kaiwei is expelled from the palace and may never set foot inside again. To thank Juju and his two brothers for saving him, the Crown Prince brought a pile of gifts to Shui Hall. But he had barely reached the gate when he heard a commotion inside. Juju, you really are our lucky star. Can your brother have one kiss? Kissed every single day, it's exhausting. My face is going to swell up at this rate. Her brothers chased from behind and Juju ran ahead. Then she slammed into someone. She looked up. It was the Crown Prince. He smiled down at her. Juju was instantly smitten. Oh, the Crown Prince is here, and he's so handsome. The Crown Prince flushed. Wait, what was that? No one said anything out loud. What's wrong, Crown Prince? You're just standing there saying nothing. Only then did he understand. It was the 18th brother's inner voice. He forced himself calm. If it exists, there must be a reason. Steady now. Come here, 18th brother. Let me hold you. But your wound hasn't healed, and Juju isn't your 18th brother. She's your 18th sister. Before she could finish, the Crown Prince clapped a hand over her mouth. This is all Father's fault for dressing you as a girl. Now you can't even tell whether you're a boy or a girl. Remember this, 18th brother. You are a proper young man. Don't let Father twist you around. Once Juju was calmed, he turned to thank his two brothers. That day you both risked your lives to protect me. I swear here and now that I will protect you with my own life. If I break this oath, let heaven strike me down. Juju quietly approved. The Crown Prince truly is a man of honor. What a pity Feng Kaiwei drags him to his death in the end. He never learns that the young lady of the Yu family died in battle for him. If only the two of them could marry. The Crown Prince was thunderstruck. And the two princes' eyes went round as saucers, the look of men who had just stumbled onto something enormous. That evening over dinner at Shui Hall, His Majesty suddenly mentioned something. The Empress Dowager and Consort Shu have been praying at Hanshan Temple for some time. They return tomorrow. Juju frowned at once. Consort Shu is my freebie dad's favorite, isn't she? She's the one who framed Mother for treason. The villain arrives tomorrow. I wonder what my freebie dad will do. The tyrant heard her and squirmed under her stare. Why are you looking at Father like that, Juju? Is the food not to your liking? Does my freebie dad really not have a clue? Mother and brother are still branded traitors. Who could swallow a bite? Then after dinner, shall Father take you to the Imperial Garden to catch butterflies? Juju's eyes lit up. Yes, please, let's go catch butterflies. The Emperor stroked her head fondly. Say what you like. She's still a child. Later in the Imperial Garden, Juju and her freebie dad were happily chasing butterflies. Then she heard palace maids whispering, Tomorrow the Empress Dowager and Consort Shu return. Once she's back, that traitor Consort Li and her child will surely be sent to the cold palace again. And Consort Shu has always been the favorite. Once she's back, His Majesty won't spare those two a thought. Juju's face fell, and she turned to head back to Shui Hall. I'm tired, I'm going back, nobody follow me. Watching her walk away in disappointment, the tyrant boiled over. Guards, take those two gossiping maids away. Cut out their tongues and feed them to the dogs, then beat them to death. The whole palace lined up at the gate to welcome her. But Juju's stomach was in knots. Mother, do you think the Empress Dowager will dislike us? Consort Li smiled gently. The Empress Dowager is the kindest person there is. Years ago, it was she who saw I was with child and swept aside every objection to spare my life. The tyrant hurried to agree. Juju is this adorable. Your grandmother will certainly love you. Hearing it from both parents, Juju's heart finally settled. The eunuch's voice rang out, welcoming the Empress Dowager back to the palace. She was helped inside, but this grandmother looked nothing like a kind woman. Her face was cold, her mood clearly foul. It isn't because of me, is it? Juju panicked instantly. Her heart, so recently settled, shot right back up. The Empress Dowager swept her gaze around the room. It seems quite a lot has happened while I was away. Oh no, grandmother is coming for me. Is she going to have me killed? Juju is about to wet herself. Hearing her inner voice, her freebie dad stepped forward at once. Mother, this is the Juju I mentioned in my letters. It was I who made her dress as a boy. If you're angry, blame me. Juju and Consort Li are innocent. Juju was trembling. Grandmother's presence is so strong, so terrifying. Juju is scared. What nonsense is this little wretch talking? Do I really look that fierce and frightening? Wait, something isn't right. How am I hearing this child's inner voice? The Empress Dowager forced her kindest smile. You have a granddaughter this adorable and you don't tell me? I would have come back sooner. Come here, sweet Juju. Let grandmother hold you. Juju timidly held out one tiny hand. The Empress Dowager took her into her arms. Looking at the bright-eyed little girl before her, the gloom in her face softened. Then she stopped short. As a former champion of palace intrigue, the Empress Dowager had long since developed a sharp eye. They're all blind. Prince, my foot. This is plainly a fresh little princess. Overjoyed, the Empress Dowager slipped the gold bracelet off her own wrist and gave it to her. Good girl, this is grandmother's gift for you. Juju's eyes shone. Grandmother is wonderful. Juju likes grandmother best. The tyrant nearly overturned a whole jar of vinegar. You little money lover, one bracelet and you're bought. Juju was in high spirits. She poked her head out to call her father along, only to see Consort Shu already clinging to his arm. Your Majesty, every day and night apart from you I thought of you. The old version of her freebie dad would have lost his soul on the spot. But to everyone's surprise, Emperor Jiaoning turned cold. The family banquet is ready. You may come along. With that, he stood and went after Juju. Mother, you must be tired. Let me carry Juju. Throughout the banquet, the Empress Dowager held Juju tight and fed her every good thing on the table. The tyrant wanted to hold his daughter but was too proud to ask. Mother, aren't your arms tired from holding Juju so long? The Empress Dowager shot him a look. That is the 10th time you have asked me. I said I am not tired. Do you never get bored? The tyrant sulked in silence. Just then, Consort Shu came forward with a cup of wine. I have longed for your Majesty day and night. Will you rest at my palace tonight? Wicked woman. Poisonous creature. Disgusting. My freebie dad won't go anywhere near her. Freebie dad, when will you clear my mother's name? Consort Shu framed her, plain as day. Treason is a crime that can get you killed. Hearing her inner voice, the tyrant felt both embarrassed and guilty. After a moment's thought, he still took Consort Shu's wine and drained it. Consort Shu gloated inwardly. I have sobering broth ready. I'll be waiting for you tonight. That night in her chambers, Consort Shu made herself as dazzling as she could, but His Majesty never came. Then a servant rushed in. My lady, it's bad. His Majesty has taken a mountain of gifts and is on his way to Qushui Hall. Consort Shu exploded. She couldn't believe he had abandoned her for that wretch Consort Li. How long have I even been gone? Consort Li has already crawled back up and pulled off all this behind my back. The servants knelt trembling. We don't know how Consort Li did it, but lately His Majesty favors no one else. Even the 18th prince is spoiled beyond measure. A teacup shattered on the floor. Rage twisted Consort Shu's face. Who does that wretch Consort Li think she is? Last time I pinned treason on her and she still survived. This time watch how I finish her. What she never imagined was that Emperor Jiaoning was standing right outside the door. A small trick had been enough to make Consort Shu show her true face. Vicious woman. She dares conspire with the court to poison my inner palace. The tyrant waved a hand, signaling the eunuch behind him to push the door open. The maid saw His Majesty come in with his retinue and desperately tried to signal Consort Shu with their eyes. But Consort Shu didn't understand and slapped one of them. What are you grimacing at? I'm not the emperor. You can't seduce me. The maid went pale and stammered out a greeting to His Majesty. The tyrant said nothing, his face like stone. The pressure of his presence choked the whole room. A cold current ran down Consort Shu's back. She spun around and dropped to her knees with a thud. Your Majesty, when did you arrive? Then he struck her hard across the face. I have never struck a woman. You are the first. You disgust me. Only then did Consort Shu realize that every word she'd said had reached his ears. None of that was true. I was talking nonsense. I love your Majesty to the point of madness. When I heard you had gone to Consort Li, I couldn't bear it, so I said those things. His Majesty threw off her hand. Guards, proclaim it to all 6 palaces. Consort Shu has framed a fellow consort. From today, her title is stripped and she is banished to the Cold Palace. He paused, then continued. The treason charge against Consort Li is a fabrication. She is pardoned, and her family is to be recalled from the frontier. As for the 13th prince, the tyrant frowned slightly. The 13th prince was not imprisoned because of Consort Li. Freeing him will take the right moment. At Chushui Hall, Juju knew nothing of this and was still begging her mother for a story. Then the rewards came pouring in like water. Consort Li stared, bewildered. What has gotten into His Majesty now? And Juju's eyes shone at the chests of gold and jewels. Once everything had been carried inside, the tyrant walked in at a leisurely pace. Consort Li, I have let you suffer all these years. I know the truth now. Consort Shu framed you. I should never have thrown you into the cold palace so rashly. But the years had passed and most of the bitterness had left her. Let what's past stay in the past. You don't resent me? I would not dare. So you do blame me. The tyrant let out a heavy sigh. Juju nearly rolled her eyes out of her head. When a man, especially a man who rules the realm, asks a woman whether she blames him, it means he has already fallen for her. Has my freebie dad fallen for my mother? Seen straight through, the tyrant flushed to his ears. But her mother only looked at her fondly. What does this silly child know? There is no such thing as love in an emperor's heart. She turned to him. The hour is late. Your Majesty should return and rest. The tyrant hemmed and hawed, hinting that he wished to stay at Chushui Hall, and was gracefully turned down. His eyes dimmed. Never mind then. I will wait until you are willing. Then I'll take my leave. Juju, will you come with me? And he scooped her up and strode out of Chushui Hall without looking back. Juju wanted to curse her father. My freebie dad is awful. He can't have mother, so he takes me hostage. Poor little Juju, already carrying so much for this family. The next morning, Juju had barely woken. When the tyrant announced he was taking her to the morning court, Juju thought she'd misheard before she could react. The tyrant had cheerfully dragged her off. At court, before the assembled ministers, he intended to announce to the world that he had a daughter. My little princess is the most adorable creature under heaven, even if she is a daughter dressed as a son. The ministers duly showered him with praise. The 18th princess is a jewel of the imperial house, and she carries your Majesty's own bearing. Just then came the heavy clanking of chains. A prisoner was brought into the hall. It was Zhou Ye, once the general who never lost. The tyrant's face darkened. Defeat after defeat against the southern kingdom. Because of your incompetence alone, countless soldiers died. Zhou Ye, what punishment do you deserve? Juju frowned. General Zhou Ye is actually brilliant. He lost for 2 reasons. The spy concubine Wei and a curse someone placed on him. Traitors sabotaged him, and that's why he kept losing. He is loyal to Western Chu to the bone. 3 sons and a daughter all died on the battlefield. Even his wife was captured by the southern kingdom. To spare her the shame, he drew his own bow and shot her himself. And yet he never once used any of it to claim credit. He never even mentioned it to His Majesty. The tyrant was shaken to his core. Zhou Ye gave that much for Western Chu, and I never knew. He might have gone his whole life blindfolded like this. Seeing the emperor's expression darken, the ministers rushed to speak. Every one of them accused Zhou Ye of losing so consistently that he must be colluding with the enemy, and demanded his immediate execution. Juju frowned. These ministers never think of easing Western Chu's burdens. All they do is push my freebie dad to kill people. If General Zhou dies, every soldier's heart will go cold. Western Chu will have no one left to rely on, and its fall becomes inevitable. Juju hoped her freebie dad would see clearly. General Zhou has sacrificed so much for Western Chu, he must not be killed. Hearing his daughter, the tyrant made his decision. Sit tight, Juju. Father will handle matters of state. He ordered the Court of Judicial Review to investigate the cause of Zhou Ye's defeats thoroughly, and to look into his family as well. Then he sent the head of the Imperial Medical Academy to treat Zhou Ye. Juju pulled a face. The head of the academy is a women's physician. He knows nothing about curse poison. The tyrant coughed awkwardly. The head physician must also attend the inner palace. Send the deputy instead. Juju's good opinion of her freebie dad hit maximum. Father is wise and formidable. Nothing like the blind tyrant in the novel. My freebie dad performed well today. I'll reward him with a kiss. With the truth uncovered, the tyrant returned to his study in high spirits. Today I saved a pillar of the realm. That pleases me. Emboldened by his doting, she climbed straight up onto Emperor Zhaoning's head and playfully tied a bow in his hair. The tyrant's face went dark. Fuan broke into a cold sweat. 18th princess, you mustn't. This damages His Majesty's dignity. But Emperor Zhaoning didn't care in the least. As long as Juju was happy, she could do whatever she liked to him. After playing a while, Juju grew puzzled. General Joe suffered so much at the frontier. Why did nobody know? Something that big, even if the general never spoke of it, my freebie dad should have caught wind of it. Yet he knew nothing at all. Could someone have deliberately blocked the reports, meaning to use my freebie dad's hand to remove General Joe without anyone noticing? Hearing her, Emperor Zhaoning came to his senses. Juju is right, why didn't I think of it? Go back to your mother first, Juju. I must get to the bottom of General Joe's case. I'll come see you when it's done. Juju looked at the tyrant with pure adoration. Father is mighty and commanding. Juju likes father best. A while later, Emperor Zhaoning arrived at the general's residence. I have already been to the court of judicial review. General Zhou, speak plainly. Zhou Ye looked troubled. If I say it, your majesty may not believe me. Better to say nothing. Speak, whether I believe you is my concern. Zhou Ye was silent a long while, then said a name. Qian Wengxian. Every military report I sent was intercepted by him. In last year's campaign, supplies failed several times because of him. I suspect he is a southern spy. Another spy. The tyrant's face changed. Thinking he wasn't believed, General Zhou dropped to his knees. If your majesty doubts me, then I never spoke. But I will find the proof. Emperor Zhaoning told him to stay and recover. He would uncover the truth himself. With that, he rose and left the residence, the moment he was back in the palace. He dispatched the blood drop squad to investigate, and they did not disappoint. From Qian Wengxian's home, they recovered a large cache of secret letters, most of them Western Chu state secrets. The tyrant read them, hands shaking. What a man Qian Wengxian is. Loyal to my face, selling off all of Western Chu behind my back. The silver mine lost 2 years ago. The deaths of General Wen and 3,000 warhorses last year. The burned supplies this year. All of it was Qian Wengxian. A concubine Wei in the inner palace, a Qian Wengxian in the outer court. No wonder Western Chu falls. 10 more years is heaven's mercy. Summon the Imperial Guard. Qian Wengxian has colluded with the enemy and sold out his country. Execute his 9 clans. Hang his body beside concubine Wei's on the city wall as a warning to the world. Looking back, Juju truly is Western Chu's lucky star. Without her, he would have known nothing right up to the day the kingdom fell. The tyrant was about to visit Juju when he was told she was with the crown prince. Southern envoys would soon arrive to sue for peace and discuss reparations. The crown prince is receiving the envoys. The princess loves a crowd, so she's been following him for days. Over in the Eastern Palace, it wasn't long before her head swam. The characters were packed tight, and a poor student like her was asleep on sight. The crown prince watched her fondly. Zhaoer, light another stick of the refreshing incense. At that name, the half-asleep Juju snapped wide awake. Zhaoer, that snake. What is she doing here with my brother? The crown prince was puzzled. What about Zhaoer? Why is Juju suddenly so agitated? This Zhaoer is no ordinary girl, she's a southern spy. She always carries poison on her, and she'll ruin both Western Chu and my brother. In the novel, after Western Chu lost the war, Zhaoer worked with the envoys from the inside, poisoning one so he could feign death. That's how they extorted 5 more cities. This time Western Chu won, but Zhaoer will certainly still use poison, so that Western Chu is disgraced for murdering an envoy. Every nation would spit on us and the reparations would evaporate. Juju's frown deepened. Western Chu barely won this war. They must be made to cede land and pay. Otherwise, all those soldiers died for nothing. Hearing her, the crown prince was appalled. When 2 nations are at war, envoys are never harmed. That rule has stood 1,000 years. If an envoy dies, this victory is thrown away. His own position as crown prince might well be revoked. Worse, Zhaoer is a master of incense. If she uses scent to deliver poison, there's no defending against it. Kill Zhaoer and there will be countless more Zhaoers after her. The more he thought, the more frightening it became. Then the great genius had an idea. What if I drink the envoy's poisoned wine? Then I'm the one poisoned. Their scheme fails, and they still have to cede land and pay reparations. But on second thought, if there's no antidote, I'm finished. He was still young, with no wife and no children. He hadn't even met the young lady of the Yu family that Juju kept mentioning. He had no good plan, but Juju did. Juju was working it out. If my brother finds the antidote at the envoy's lodging and produces it when they poison their own man, the whole scheme is exposed. Then Western Chu goes from cornered to in control, and we might even squeeze a few more cities out of them. The great genius saw the light. Such a simple solution, and I never thought of it. All I could think about was poisoning myself. Juju really is the clever one. And with that, he bent down and kissed her cheek. Juju froze. What is wrong with my brother? Getting kissed every single day is exhausting. Worried the crown prince couldn't handle the poisoning, Juju prepared a backup plan of her own. Drawing on the traditional medicine she'd learned from the orphanage director in her past life, she set out to make an antidote. Then even if he found nothing, she would have one. When the tyrant came to visit, he found her elbow deep in a pile of rare herbs. Who's ill? Why not call a physician? Consort Li said no one was ill. Juju had simply taken a sudden interest in playing with medicine. The tyrant issued an order at once. The medical academy was to send over every herb they had. The princess must play to her heart's content. Then he walked over to her. Juju, is there anything father can help with? Juju immediately shoved the pestle into his hands. This one's heavy. Do your best, father. The tyrant rolled up his sleeves. Fuan hurried to stop him. Your majesty is of golden body. Let this old servant do it. But the tyrant was already lost in Juju's cheering, grinding hard enough to strike sparks. With father and daughter working together, the all-purpose antidote was soon ready. Juju jumped for joy. This princess will destroy every villain under heaven. Destroy, destroy, destroy. The tyrant came over and picked her up. All right, my princess, it's time to eat. Before a table of fine dishes, Emperor Zhaoning extended a hand with ceremony. The princess may take the seat of honor. Warmth spread through Juju's chest. She had heard those words in her last life, but never spoken to her. In this life, at last, someone treated her as a little princess. So she leaned over and planted a loud kiss on the tyrant's cheek. Her freebie dad was overjoyed. Juju kissed me on her own again, and he set about fussing over her in every way he could. The princess may take up her chopsticks. The princess may lift her bowl. The princess may open her mouth, father will feed her. Juju drifted away on all those princesses. And the way Consort Li looked at Emperor Zhaoning had changed too. Something she hadn't felt in a very long time was quietly taking root. 3 days later at court, the southern envoys arrived as agreed. Emperor Zhaoning sat in full majesty and calmly offered the envoys their seats. Honored Emperor of Western Chu, we come to the capital to sue for peace. To show our sincerity, allow us to offer your majesty a cup of wine. Emperor Zhaoning smiled and lifted a cup of tea instead. I have a precious daughter now. She dislikes the smell of wine, so I'll drink tea in its place. Juju's expression went flat. You came here just to show off your daughter, didn't you? But the lead envoy had barely swallowed his wine when he spat out a pool of black blood and collapsed. His fellow envoys erupted at once, insisting Western Chu had poisoned him. Envoys are never harmed between warring states. Western Chu goes too far. The Supreme Alliance must judge this. Our ambassador cannot die for nothing. The tyrant panicked too. The envoy was perfectly well. How did he die? He glanced at the crown prince, who stood perfectly calm. So my brother has already found proof that they staged the poisoning themselves. The imperial clansmen nearby doubted their ears. How are we hearing the princess's thoughts? This truly is a blessing. The crown prince drew a small porcelain vial from his robe. Do not be alarmed, father. I can handle this. Thanks to Juju, he had already recovered the antidote from the envoy's own lodging. Western Chu wins and loses in the open. We have never stooped to poison. If you want the Supreme Alliance to judge us, by all means. The Supreme Alliance arrived swiftly. Its members were figures of great weight in every nation, widely respected. After hearing the envoy's accusation, they frowned as well. Emperor of Western Chu, a southern envoy was poisoned at your own banquet. The culprit must be of the Western Chu royal house. What explanation do you offer? With the alliance behind them, the envoys grew bolder. Western Chu poisoned our ambassador openly. They must pay for it. The crown prince laughed coldly. Pay? And what price do you have in mind? The reparations are void. And the Emperor of Western Chu must publicly apologize to the Southern Kingdom. The tyrant scoffed. As I see it, the Southern Kingdom poisoned its own man to slander Western Chu. All so you can lose a war and avoid paying for it, Juju chimed in. Exactly. A pack of shameless frauds. The Southern envoys tensed. Does Western Chu know they poisoned him themselves? What proof do you have? Proof indeed. The crown prince produced a red-glazed vial marked with the red bean pattern unique to the southern kingdom. This antidote was found at the southern envoy's residence. How do you explain that? The envoys refused to admit anything. How can the crown prince prove it's ours? A southern vial alone frames nobody. But the crown prince had prepared for that. He handed the antidote to the imperial physician and told him to match it against the envoy's symptoms and identify the poison. The physician lifted it to his nose and recognized it at once: red thorn poison. A compound belonging solely to the southern royal house. It depends on climate, so nowhere outside the southern kingdom can refine it. The crown prince had the antidote passed to Lu Jing. Whether it is a true antidote, my lord may test for himself. The alliance had the envoy given the medicine. Moments later, he slowly opened his eyes. So it is the antidote. Lu Jing's face changed. Envoys of the southern kingdom, you poisoned your own man and blamed Western Chu. What have you left to say? The envoys had no answer, and knelt as one to beg the emperor of Western Chu for mercy. The tyrant laughed coldly. Now you know how to beg? Weren't you fierce a moment ago? The truth is out. The southern kingdom shamelessly slandered Western Chu. The original reparations are now doubled. With everything resolved, Juju gave the crown prince a thumbs up. After the banquet, the imperial clan crowded around with congratulations. Your Majesty is wise. Western Chu's fortunes will surely flourish. Pleased with himself, the tyrant ordered rewards for the crown prince and the two princes. But the crown prince knew Juju was the true hero. She hadn't only saved Western Chu, she had saved him from losing his position. Poor Juju, passed from arm to arm. At this rate, she won't need legs at all. Seeing Juju in the crown prince's arms, the tyrant's smile vanished. Give her back. Go and find out who did the poisoning, before the crown prince could react. The tyrant pointed at Juju in his arms. Hand my Juju over. You've held her long enough. Reluctantly, the crown prince returned her to Emperor Jiaoning. With his daughter back, the tyrant looked smug and waved him off. There's still no proof Jiaoer is a spy. Go investigate. He assumed that with the crown prince gone, no one would fight him for Juju. But then the imperial clansmen began stirring, every one of them asking to take Juju home for a while. They praised how adorable she was, but in truth they had all noticed she was unusual and wanted to use her inner voice for their own gain. Juju wanted no part of it. All these people borrowing me to look at. Am I a monkey? Juju isn't going. Juju can't be without mother and my freebie dad. Watching her pout, the clansmen loved her even more. She's adorable even when she's angry. I want to kiss her and hold her and toss her in the air. Hearing his daughter, the tyrant refused them all flatly. Juju is still small. It isn't suitable for her to leave. But Prince Ning insisted the princess was hardly small. She's 5. She eats, she drinks, she wrecks the furniture. She'll be fine. Absolutely not. The princess is still nursing. Cornered, the tyrant simply started inventing. Prince Ning would not let go. Then bring the wet nurse along. Surely my household can afford to feed one nurse. And you kept Prince Duan's daughter in the palace before. Now your brothers want a turn? Why refuse? This is favoritism. Before Prince Ning could finish, the tyrant's face went black. You forget yourself. Juju is mine. I lend her to no one. Prince Ning dropped to his knees in fright. I spoke out of turn only because I truly adore the little princess. Please forgive me. Only then did the tyrant soften slightly. Trying to take Juju from me. I'll frighten you to death. Seeing the tension, the Empress Dowager stepped in to smooth things over. The little princess is the treasure of the emperor's heart. If I hold her a moment too long, he grows restless. My son and I both understand your good intentions. Let's wait until she is older. The moment she finished, Prince Su, silent until now, spoke up. I won't ask for Juju to visit my residence, but your majesty, that Eastern pearl you recently acquired, might you grant it to this old subject? The Empress Dowager's face darkened. That pearl was meant for her own phoenix crown. Even an empress wouldn't be entitled to it. And Prince Su dares to ask. This Prince Su was the late emperor's own elder brother, because he had once saved the late emperor's life, however arrogant he behaved. Emperor Jiaoning had always looked the other way, but climbing over the Empress Dowager was unbearable. His old wife had died long ago, so who was the pearl for? No one else knew, but Juju knew the whole story. He wants the pearl for the young concubine he just married. That concubine trades on her looks and demands everything. She'd have him pluck 2 stars from the sky. She isn't even worried about throwing the old man's back out. Hearing her, the tyrant nearly spat out his water. The whole hall's jaws dropped. Prince Su must be 80. Marrying a 14-year-old concubine, can his body take it? The tyrant coughed awkwardly, but he could hardly argue with it. Below the dais, Prince Su heard Juju's inner voice too, but assumed his old ears were failing him. This old subject has only one wish. In light of my 80 years, I beg your majesty to grant it. The shameless old man. My freebie dad must not agree. Otherwise, people will laugh that grandmother ranks below a concubine. And grandmother will be so furious she'll suffer a stroke and lose the use of half her body. In the end, she might not survive. Everyone who heard it startled and pressed forward, urging his majesty to reconsider. But Prince Su could not have cared less. He thought the little girl was talking nonsense. If your majesty will not grant this old subject the pearl today, I will dash my head open right here. The tyrant put a hand to his forehead. Calm yourself, Prince Su. The man had once saved the late emperor and even carried a protective edict from him. What am I supposed to do? With that thought, he glanced helplessly at Juju. Juju was frowning, cheeks puffed out in irritation. Now everything rests on Juju. Are you sleepy, Juju? Juju isn't sleepy. Not sleepy? Then speak up. I'm listening. Are you hungry then? Here, have a piece of cake. Juju bit into the cake and muttered to herself, that old goat Prince Su is blinded by lust. That concubine of his will kill all 7 of his sons. Prince Su heard it and remained unmoved. Children talking nonsense. The more she said, the more absurd it sounded, and he believed none of it. Feeling sorry for her freebie dad, Juju decided to help anyway. Prince Su, you want the Eastern Pearl, don't you? My father can give it to you. It's only that the pearl will take a little time to deliver. I wonder if you can wait. Prince Su beamed. However long it takes, I can wait. But, your majesty, is what the princess says true? Only then did the tyrant catch on. That's my Juju. She knows how to work the calendar. Of course it's true. A single pearl I can spare. It's only that the Eastern Pearl yields 2 stones every 40 years. By my count, the next batch arrives in 20 years. I'll send yours the moment it does. Prince Su nearly coughed up blood, but he had to grit his teeth and accept. Before leaving, Juju muttered again, the old man had better watch that concubine. In 2 days, she'll kill one of his sons. Prince Su refused to believe a word. Sure enough, days later, Prince Su was weeping over a coffin. The sudden death of his eldest son left him too broken to stand. Inside the house, his concubine wore a look of triumph. Don't blame me for being cruel. If the eldest hadn't caught me drugging the prince, you might have lived a few days longer. The air has to come out of my body. In the depths of his grief, Juju's words from that day suddenly rang in Prince Su's head. The old man had better watch that concubine. In 2 days, she'll kill one of his sons. Prince Su jolted awake. The 18th princess had never lied to him. He had to see her at once. Elsewhere, Juju was feeding the fish. Prince Su watched from a distance, unable to bring himself to approach. The princess warned me and I didn't listen, and my eldest drowned. Now I come crawling back to her. While he stood brooding, Juju turned and spotted him. Prince Su, what are you doing over there? Prince Su turned and fled. Juju watched him go, exasperated. That old man can run. It's not like Juju was going to eat him. He ran all the way out the gate before stopping. I treated the child so badly. Going back to ask her now would be slapping my own face. Never mind, never mind. Her thoughts might not be accurate. My other sons should be safe. Juju began to doubt herself. Do I look that scary? Consort Li hurried to reassure her. You're a lovely little thing. Where's the scary part? Then why did Prince Su run the moment he saw me? Consort Li was still thinking of an answer when the tyrant scooped her up from behind. It's because something happened at his household. He had to rush out of the palace. Seeing how thinly Consort Li was dressed, the tyrant frowned with concern. It's cold. What if you catch a chill? Juju nestled into her freebie dad's arms, as expected of an emperor, radiating heat, much warmer now. Then she sniffed around Emperor Xiaoning like a puppy. My freebie dad smells wonderful today. What scent is that? The tyrant turned to Fuan. Bring my aloes wood incense for the princess. Fuan froze. Aloes wood was reserved for the emperor alone. To hold the rank of princess and receive an emperor's privileges, the 18th princess was the first. Fuan, why are you standing there grinning? Go and fetch it. Then he turned back to her. Anything else you want, tell father. Father will give you all of it. Juju shook her head. Nothing for now. I'll tell you when I think of something. Sooner or later, I'll bleed my freebie dad dry. Today, Juju is a deep, cold little princess whom nothing in this world can move. Meanwhile, noble consort Jiang, newly released from confinement, was already scheming to get rid of Juju. A child who's neither boy nor girl. What gives her the right to all this favor? Consort Qing couldn't work it out either. Is it because she's pretty? Surely not. Would a sovereign really be that shallow? Princess Qing's daughter, County Princess Anlei, is said to be far prettier than Juju. If we bring her into the palace, she'll certainly win His Majesty's affection. Noble consort Jiang's eyes turned venomous. Once Consort Li was kicked back to the cold palace, she would grind that wretch into the dirt. One day, Juju sat in Chushui Hall with a book, waiting for her freebie dad to come tell her a story. Didn't father say he'd come once he finished the memorials? Why isn't he here yet? Mother, do you think my freebie dad is coming today? Consort Li smiled to soothe her. He'll come. Your father doesn't break his word. Something must have held him up. Hearing that, Juju's anticipation only grew. He's late this time, so I'll make him tell 2 stories as punishment. Sure enough, a maid soon came in. His Majesty invites the 18th princess to the Imperial Garden. Juju was thrilled. My freebie dad is being so mysterious. Has he prepared a surprise for me? So she took Consort Li's hand and pattered off to the garden. The moment she arrived, she saw her freebie dad. But standing across from him was a little girl. Whatever the two were saying, her freebie dad's expression was awful. Juju was about to lead her mother over, when noble consort Jiang suddenly blocked their way. Consort Li, Juju, I imagine you don't know why I sought you out. Only then did Consort Li understand. They had been lured here. Noble consort, Jiang smiled coldly. Don't imagine only Juju can amuse His Majesty. All she has is a pretty face. And speaking of pretty, County Princess Anlei is far lovelier than Juju. Once she wins his favor, do you think you'll keep the position you hold now? Then she leaned close to Consort Li's ear and sneered. And that child of yours who's neither boy nor girl, will His Majesty still want her? The words struck Consort Li hard. Emperors have always tired of the old for the new. If Juju fell from favor, they would both return to the cold palace. For herself, it hardly mattered. But Juju was so young, and she couldn't bear for her to suffer there too. She dares threaten my mother, Juju's brow furrowed. Don't worry, Mother. Juju isn't going to lose anyone's favor. Because she remembered the novel said County Princess Anlei was Princess Qing's daughter. And before Emperor Jiaoning took the throne, Princess Qing had plotted against him more than once. That he never killed her was a mercy, and now she dares parade her daughter in front of him. Noble consort Jiang has nerve, dragging anyone at all into the palace. Hearing her, the 2 brothers found their courage. Is your ladyship not fully awake? Why are you talking in your sleep? Noble consort Jiang shot up in fury. How dare you speak to me that way? Once County Princess Anlei wins favor, you're all finished. But before she could finish, the tyrant's voice roared behind her. Get out of my palace, I don't want to see your face again. County Princess Anlei still didn't know her place. That ugly Juju is nowhere near as pretty as me. Uncle Emperor should spoil me more. The tyrant's face went black as a skillet. Guards, County Princess Anlei has insulted the princess. 50 strikes to the mouth. Then he ordered Fuan to find out which blind fool had brought her into the palace. Fuan found out at once. Your Majesty, noble consort Jiang summoned her for a visit that ended up right in front of him. The tyrant understood exactly what she'd been planning. Issue my decree. From today, noble consort Jiang is stripped of her rank and banished to the cold palace for life. She had come to watch Consort Li humiliated and ended up the joke herself. With that settled, her freebie dad finally noticed Juju beside him. What brings you to the garden, Juju? Did you come to find father? Father, you never came to find Juju. Juju missed you so much. Emperor Jiaoning's grin stretched to his ears. That mouth of yours is dipped in honey. Did anything just now frighten you? Of course she hadn't been frightened. She only pitied her mother. Mother has never felt safe. Just now she was shaking with fear. A pity my freebie dad noticed none of it. Hearing Juju, Emperor Jiaoning looked at Consort Li with real tenderness. Noble consort Jiang said I would abandon you both. You must have been terrified. Set your heart at ease. I promise you I will always protect you and our child. Warmth rose in Consort Li's chest. Even Juju was surprised. Since when did my freebie dad become this thoughtful? He even noticed Mother's fear. And Consort Qing, watching from the shadows, silently mocked noble consort Jiang as a fool with nothing between her ears. Then she looked at consort Li. That wretch won't be smug for long, just wait. That night at Chushui Hall, her freebie dad volunteered to tell Juju a bedtime story. But father and daughter had barely lain down when frantic cries for help came from outside. The tyrant was visibly annoyed. Who is shouting like that? Before he could lose his temper, Prince Su was carried in. I have an urgent matter. I beg your majesty and the 18th princess to save my father. Prince Su was insufferable, but he was still the late emperor's own brother. Emperor Zhaoning settled Juju and stepped outside. It turned out that an hour earlier, Prince Su's second son had died suddenly. The shock had knocked him unconscious. Before he fainted, my father kept calling for the 18th princess, so I brought him here. A while later, Prince Su slowly came around. The moment he saw Emperor Zhaoning, he fell to his knees. Save me, your majesty. Let me see the princess just once. I have something vital to ask her. The tyrant understood immediately. From the look of his uncle, the man could hear Juju's inner voice too. He had simply chosen not to believe it. I can help you keep your sons alive, but you must swear never to speak of Juju to anyone. Can your majesty hear the princess's thoughts as well? Astonished, Prince Su hurriedly agreed. Go home and kill that concubine, and no further harm will come to your sons. Though she controls the wealth and the guards of your household, so killing her may be difficult. I'll send the feathered guard to help you. Prince Su nodded helplessly. If only I had listened to the princess from the start. And so peace returned to the household. No further misfortune befell Prince Su's sons. But every few days, Prince Su would come running into the palace to find Juju. Little princess, disaster. My third son has a fever and has fainted. Juju stared at him. If he's feverish, call a doctor. What good does telling me do? Juju, my youngest, was beaten half to death. Is he going to die? If he can't win a fight, tell him to train. I can't fight for him. Day 3. Juju, my fifth son, is fighting with his wife. She'd heard enough. Prince Su, go home and raise your own children. That day, Juju had had enough and ran to complain to her freebie dad. Who's bullying you, Juju? Father will set it right. My freebie dad had better rein in Prince Su. He follows me around like a tail every day. Juju doesn't want to hear about his family anymore. The tyrant issued a decree at once, barring Prince Su from entering the palace to see her. He's been clinging to you for days. Juju's 5th birthday was approaching. His Majesty planned to celebrate on a grand scale and invite everyone into the palace. Juju's eyes lit up at the news. Because her freebie dad had been choosing a consort for the crown prince, and not one candidate was any good. If everyone comes to the palace, Yu Wanyin, the crown prince's true wife, will appear too. She's the best thing that could happen to him. I have to bring them together. Her freebie dad was lost. Who is Yu Wanyin that Juju admires her so? Emperor Zhaoning had a great many questions. But Juju had already moved on. I wonder what everyone will give me at the banquet. Ideally, some street snacks. In her last life, she had never tasted a single local treat. Her freebie dad's heart clenched. How hard was her last life? She never even tasted good food. He was angry enough to raise a plate of cakes to smash it. Why hasn't the Imperial Kitchen learned to make anything good? What do you want, Juju? I'll have them go and learn it now. Malt candy, rolled bean cakes, or a cream cake? Juju couldn't stop the drool escaping the corner of her mouth. Then she planted a kiss on the tyrant's cheek. Consort Li watched the two of them fondly. Your Majesty, don't spoil her rotten. Juju is my daughter. If I don't spoil her, who will I spoil? Fuan, send the kitchen to learn at once. The day of the banquet came quickly. Juju rose early to be dressed and made up. Consort Li herself painted her a delicate face and set a small flower ornament between her brows. Juju had still been drowsy. But one look in the mirror woke her completely, and she sat speechless for a long moment. Who is this little fairy in the mirror? How can anyone be this pretty? This lovely already and so small, what will she be like grown up? By then, everyone who sees her will fall for her, and the flowers themselves will bloom. Consort Li laughed at her daughter's smug thoughts. Little fairy, your birthday banquet is about to begin. Everyone is waiting. Juju threw herself into her mother's arms. Mother looks beautiful today, too. Juju is a little fairy. Mother is a great fairy. If my freebie dad sees her, he'll be too dazzled to find his way home. Later, they arrived at the Great Hall. It was still early and no guests had come. Juju had an idea. Mother is this beautiful, so we should hide her. Then her entrance will stun the whole room. So she turned and wheedled at her mother. Mother, the banquet hasn't started. Why don't you go have tea in the side hall first? Consort Lee heard her daughter's thoughts but played along. Now that you mention it, I am rather thirsty. She was about to tell Juju not to run off when she found herself pushed into the side hall. With her mother gone, Juju bounced around the room like a monkey. Strange, I don't see Yu Wanyin anywhere. Could she be outside? But just as Juju was heading for the door, a commotion carried in from nearby. You ugly thing, who are you to look at me like that? I'll beat you to death today. She saw Feng Kaiwei with 2 palace maids, kicking and beating a little girl. Juju's heart jumped. Isn't that my cousin, Nan Wanxiang? Because of the birthmark on her face, people had treated her as a freak since childhood. But Juju knew the mark would fade as she grew, and she was sharp, destined to become the richest merchant in the realm. Juju pulled her behind her own back. Feng Kaiwei, you dare bully this princess's cousin? Feng Kaiwei startled at the sight of her, then let out a contemptuous laugh. Cousin? What cousin? She's nothing but a girl no father loves and no mother wants. 18th princess? Don't talk nonsense. Juju helped her cousin up. Do you think I'd invent something like this? I'm small, not stupid. How could I fail to recognize my own family? Bully my cousin again and you'll regret it. Delivered in that soft little voice, the threat carried no weight at all. Feng Kaiwei scoffed, clearly unimpressed. But the next second, Juju's eyes went ice cold. Apologize to my cousin, now. The killing intent in that stare made Feng Kaiwei shudder. She provoked me first. Why should I apologize? 18th princess, I didn't. Juju knew perfectly well that her cousin would never start trouble. Juju put her hands on her hips and called for the servants. Feng Kaiwei beat this princess's cousin without cause. Her conduct is vicious. Throw her out of the palace for me. A moment later, several feathered guards stepped forward and dragged Feng Kaiwei away, screaming. Juju turned to Nan Yuanxiang. Are you all right, cousin? Shall I take you to a physician? Nan Yuanxiang hurried to thank her, though she couldn't understand how the 18th princess knew who she was. Meanwhile, at the banquet, the tyrant still hadn't seen Consort Li or Juju, so he sent Fu An to bring them back. Prince Duan and his wife came storming in. Tell me, brother, if someone were so arrogant as to throw my daughter out of the palace, what would her punishment be? The tyrant frowned. Who is being arrogant on a day of celebration? Speak and I'll judge it. Prince Duan dropped to his knees. And if that person were of high standing, valued by your majesty and the Empress Dowager? When the emperor breaks the law, he answers as any commoner would. Speak, Prince Duan. I will judge it myself. Prince Duan hesitated no longer. It was the 18th princess trading on your favor to do as she pleased. She threw my daughter out of the palace. I ask for justice. The tyrant's face went dark, so all that circling was aimed at Juju. Are you certain Juju drove her out simply because she disliked her? Prince Duan faltered but held his ground. Does my brother mean to shield her? However favored, a princess cannot behave as though the sky is hers. The whole court buzzed, everyone declaring the 18th princess disgraceful and demanding severe punishment. The moment you open your mouths, you demand punishment. Do you even know what happened? I know my own daughter. Juju is not that kind of child. Then he sent for Juju to explain. A confrontation face-to-face would show who was right. A while later, Juju returned, with Nan Yuanxiang limping behind her. The whole hall started. Isn't that the unwanted girl from the Nan family? Whoever did this was cruel, beating a child's leg until it broke. Afraid of complications, Prince Duan urged His Majesty to punish Juju at once, but His Majesty remained calm. Juju. Prince Duan says you drove Feng Kaiwei out without cause. Is it true? If you have a reason, tell father. What a fool this Prince Duan is. Who drove his daughter out for no reason? Feng Kaiwei brought it on herself. Juju did drive Feng Kaiwei out of the palace, but she beat my cousin first, and instead of apologizing, she twisted the truth. The guards who had accompanied her testified as well. If the 18th princess hadn't stepped in, Lady Nan would have been crippled. The tyrant looked back at Prince Duan with eyes like ice. Prince Duan has raised his child poorly and let her inflict private punishment inside the palace. You forfeit 1 year's salary. You need not attend the banquet. Go home and reflect behind closed doors. Juju was very pleased. My freebie dad understands me better every day. One day she and her cousin would build a great business and make more money than several lifetimes could spend. Hearing that, Nan Yuanxiang resolved that one day she would lead Juju to a fortune. The birthday banquet began. Juju's eyes shone at the pile of gifts. I'm rich, I'm rich. You can tell just by looking that these treasures are worth a fortune. Juju, where's your mother? Juju snapped out of it. Oh no, I forgot all about mother. Just then, Consort Li walked out in flowing brocade, dignified and radiant. Emperor Zhaoning stared, transfixed. Why so late, Consort Li? I have good news for you. Your family was exiled for treason. The truth is out now, and I have sent men to bring them back from the frontier. Soon your family will be together again. Consort Li's chest ached and tears nearly spilled over. Looking at the smiles of Consort Li and Juju, the tyrant felt nothing in this world could match this moment. The banquet was in full swing. Then someone came to report to the crown prince. Lady Yu climbed a tree in the imperial garden to spy on a man. A crowd has gathered. Please come and handle it. Juju suddenly remembered. In the novel, someone deliberately framed Yu Wanyin, which was why the crown prince came to despise her. This time, with her here, she had to clear up the misunderstanding. A while later, the two arrived. A thick crowd had already gathered beneath the tree. From their angle, Yu Wanyin really did look like she was spying on a man, but the crown prince could hear Juju's thoughts. And so he noticed at once that Yu Wanyin was cradling a fledgling, trying to return it to its nest. Just then, a graceful young woman appeared. It was Nan Bolin, Nan Yuanshang's half-sister. I sent for your highness because Lady Yu was spying on a man, with no regard for propriety. At the words crown prince, Yu Wanyin panicked up in the tree. Her foot slipped and she fell straight down. The crown prince threw out his arms to catch her. A second later, he was holding her against his chest. Juju's eyes sparkled. My brother and Yu Wanyin look perfect together. Realizing how improper this was, Yu Wanyin sprang out of his arms and thanked him with a burning face. As long as you're unhurt, Lady Yu, though I wonder why you climbed so high. Yu Wanyin was about to explain when Nan Baolin cut in. Because she has no shame, obviously. Everyone saw her climb up to spy on a man. Your highness must not let her off. Juju puffed out her cheeks. Yu Wanyin was clearly returning a fledgling to its nest. Brother, this matters. You have to hear her side. Whatever you do, don't let a schemer blind you and throw away Yu Wanyin's sincere heart. Juju has a point. As it happens, I'd like to hear it too. Juju was secretly delighted. If he was willing to listen, the tragic ending could be rewritten. But Yu Wanyin, usually so bold, went tongue-tied in front of him. She couldn't understand why she always stammered around the crown prince. If I can't explain myself clearly and he ends up hating me, what then? Juju was more anxious than she was. Lady Yu is only shy because she's facing the man she loves. Brother, you have to believe her. Hearing her, the crown prince's gaze on Yu Wanyin softened. They say she's quick with words, yet in front of me, she's careful with everyone. How endearing. Don't be alarmed, Lady Yu. Explain and I'll believe you. Only then did Yu Wanyin find her courage. I saw a fledgling fall from its nest and I climbed only to put it back. Warmth spread through the crown prince's chest. But Nan Baolin would not let go. Everyone saw you climb up to spy. How can you prove what you say is true? Juju stamped her foot in anger. They're perfect for each other. Since when do you get a say? Out of the way, you monster! I saw Yu Wanyin put that fledgling back with my own eyes. The tree is so tall. How could a little princess see clearly? Before Juju could answer, the crown prince cut the woman off sharply. If Juju says she saw it, she saw it. Are you questioning the imperial house? Guards. The Nan family's second daughter has spread malice and insulted the imperial family. 50 strikes to the mouth. Once Nan Baolin had been dragged away. Juju looked up at the crown prince. Brother, Juju likes Lady Yu. Can Juju stay with her a little longer? She wanted the two of them together as much as possible. That way the sweets would keep coming. So Juju likes candy. Then I'll carry a few pieces whenever I go out. The crown prince didn't disappoint her, and invited Yu Wanyin back to the banquet himself. On the way back, the more Juju looked at Yu Wanyin, the more she liked her. I didn't get a proper look before. Up close, Lady Yu really is beautiful. Hair black as ink, eyes clear as pearls. She's even lovelier from up close. I want to touch her cheek so badly. A pity my arms are too short to reach. Watching Juju flail her arms about, Yu Wanyin assumed she wanted a gift. So she took the hairpin from her hair. Today is your birthday, princess, and I haven't congratulated you yet. Please accept this first. There will be more gifts inside. Juju froze. The pretty lady thinks I'm a greedy little money grubber. If I ask to touch her cheek now, I'll seem even worse. The crown prince couldn't bear to watch her struggle and decided to help. He leaned close to Yu Wanyan's ear and murmured, "I want to touch your cheek." Yu Wanyan's heart lurched, and she flushed to the roots of her hair. "Your Highness, you want to touch my cheek? That hardly seems proper." The crown prince froze too and waved his hands frantically. "Not me. Juju. Juju wants to touch your cheek." Yu Wanyan turned redder still. "So it's the princess who wants to." "Then what was I imagining just now? I'm so sorry, I misunderstood." With that, she made an excuse and bolted into the hall, leaving Juju standing there in confusion. "Brother, what did you say to make her run off like that?" The crown prince burned with embarrassment. "I only said I wanted to touch her cheek, and then—" Juju was thunderstruck. "Does she dislike me that much?" One mention of touching her cheek and she ran without looking back. "Is Juju really so unlikable?" The crown prince was about to explain, when Juju burst into tears, just as the situation was slipping out of control. A large hand suddenly lifted her up. The tyrant's face was cold. "What's this? Who upset my Juju?" The crown prince stammered. "It was my failure to look after her properly that made her cry. I know I was wrong." "If knowing you're wrong were enough, we wouldn't need laws. You will spend today reflecting alone, and find a way to make it up to her." The tyrant carried her back to the banquet. Consort Li rushed to ask what was wrong. She would have done better not to ask. Juju only cried harder. Juju didn't want to cry either, but somehow she couldn't stop. It broke the tyrant's heart. Juju might carry memories of a past life, but she was still a child. So he immediately put a chicken leg on her plate. "There, Juju, eat the chicken leg. You need your strength to keep crying." Consort Li and Juju were both speechless. Wonderful comforting. Please never do it again. But his nonsense actually worked, and Juju stopped crying. Fine, she'd force down the chicken leg first. Once she'd settled, the tyrant asked what had happened. "Juju, who made you cry? Did that brat of a crown prince bully you?" "It has nothing to do with the crown prince, but Juju didn't want to say. It was too embarrassing." Before the tyrant could press her, Juju hopped off her seat and left. She wanted to win Lady Yu over herself, not have her freebie dad use his throne to force it. So she searched the banquet from end to end, and finally found Yu Wanyan. But just as she started toward her, she slammed into a wall of a man. He frowned the instant he saw her. "You're that 18th brat who dresses as a girl? Your elder brother is speaking to you." Juju was still reeling from the impact. Elder brother? Could this be the first prince who spends his life at war? Come to think of it, he's a tragic figure too. 10 years from now, when Western Chu falls, he's beheaded on the battlefield. Juju bowed to him respectfully. The first prince startled. Where did that voice come from? Was that the child's inner voice? "She dares curse me with beheading and says Western Chu will fall." "What nonsense are you spouting, brat?" Juju blinked. All she had done was bow. What had she done wrong? The onlookers murmured too. Why is the first prince so volatile? The princess only greeted him and he's this angry. Fine, I won't bother with you. The first prince turned to leave. Behind him, Juju pulled a face at his back. I was going to warn him he'd fall and lose his front teeth today. But looking at him, he'd never believe it and he might even blame me. The first prince sneered. I am a warrior. I don't simply fall over because someone says so. The reckoning came fast. A second later, his left foot caught his right. He hit the ground face first. The crash drew a crowd. The tyrant came running at the noise. What's all this racket? The first prince turned quickly. Father, you're here. Why is my mouth whistling? Only then did he realize he really had knocked out his front teeth. The first prince had never been well regarded. Now he'd humiliated himself before the tyrant and would surely be shut out further. But Juju knew that for all his blunt temper, his heart belonged wholly to Western Chu. If father held this against him, it would be a disaster. So she spoke up. Banquet robes are thick and long. My eldest brother is always away and rarely wears them. If the size doesn't fit, of course he'd fall. Juju makes sense. Emperor Zhaoning declared it on the spot. From now on, military officers are excused from long robes at banquets. Then he looked at the first prince. Your mother is a skilled physician. Go and ask whether it can be repaired. The first prince burned with shame. He had treated her so badly, and she had still spoken for him before their father. In his eyes now, Juju was utterly adorable. She's clearly my little brother, so why does she look more delicate than any girl? At the same time, Juju found Yu Wanyin. After some explaining, the misunderstanding was finally cleared up. It's all the crown prince's fault. He can't even pass on a message properly. Are you hungry, princess? Would you like something to eat? But Juju had just been force-fed a whole chicken leg and wasn't hungry at all. Yu Wanyin nodded. Then let's watch the dancing first and eat after. They say today's dancers were all sent from the Southern Kingdom. You don't see them often. Juju thought that odd. They're the enemy. Why would they send dancers? They lost the war and couldn't pay the reparations, so they sent them instead. Apparently, they also sent a hostage prince, 8 or 9 years old. Juju's heart lurched. A hostage prince from the Southern Kingdom? Wasn't that the male lead who destroys Western Chu 10 years from now? In the novel, he was sent here as a hostage and suffered every humiliation the imperial family could invent. Later, he returned to the Southern Kingdom, took the throne, and resolved to take revenge on Western Chu. The thought turned Juju's blood cold. This is bad. If he's here, it's all over. She hadn't been in this world very long, but she had met so many people who truly loved her. To protect them, Juju could never stand by and watch Western Chu fall. She asked Lady Yu where the hostage Dijiang was being held, but Yu Wanyin didn't know either. They say His Majesty arranged it personally. If you're curious, princess, ask him after the banquet. But Juju had no heart left for banquets. She felt like a bone was lodged in her throat, and thorns were pressed against her back. At last the banquet ended. She went straight to find her freebie dad. But before she could speak, the tyrant wanted to take her to visit the first prince. He said it was to see her eldest brother, but really he just wanted more time with her. A while later, they reached the inner palace. The moment Juju saw the first prince, she rushed over, asking warmly how he was. Which did not please a certain man obsessed with his daughter. What's so good about that brat that Juju only worries about him? But the first prince was bashful. He still felt guilty for how coldly he'd treated her. Thankfully, Consort Hui stepped in. Thank you for your concern, princess. The bleeding has stopped. We only need the right material to replace the teeth. Juju laughed inwardly. So he's been covering his face because he's missing teeth. Where's the warrior in that? Don't say such things. A few teeth mean nothing to me. The first prince blurted it out, which made Juju jump. Your mouth is open so wide. Are you going to eat me? Emperor Zhaoning picked her up and shot the first prince a cold look. You're this old and still can't compose yourself. Don't startle Juju. The first prince was thoroughly wronged. He only wanted to be close to her. Fine. He'd wait until his teeth were fixed. The moment they were outside, the little princess hurried to explain. Juju wasn't frightened at all. Father, don't blame my eldest brother. The tyrant said he didn't blame him, while inwardly overturning a whole jar of vinegar. What spell has that eldest boy cast on Juju? She's never defended me like that. Then Juju brought it up. They say the Southern Kingdom sent a hostage. Juju wants to know where he's being held. This concerned the fall of Western Chu. She had to know. The tyrant's heart pounded. That hostage is connected to the fall of the kingdom? He had long wanted to ask about it, but she was so young, and he wanted her to have a carefree childhood. Now it was clear that unless this was settled, Juju would live in fear. So he told her where Dijiang was held and warned her again and again. She was to take him with her when she went. Juju agreed readily enough, and slipped out on her own the very next day. The hostage lodge sat in a remote corner, bleak and deserted. No wonder her freebie dad hadn't wanted her going alone. A place like this invited trouble. But Dijiang had been humiliated in Western Chu. Bringing her father would only startle the snake. The urgent thing was to find out whether he had already turned. But at the gate, 2 guards stopped her. Trading on the emperor's favor, Juju threw a fit until they let her in. The guards wanted to follow and protect her, but she refused outright. By her reckoning, Dijiang was only 8 or 9 now, hardly a threat to her. Inside, the lodge wasn't so different from an ordinary palace, but far more run down than she'd expected. The moment she stepped in, she saw a boy kneeling in the courtyard. He was unusually thin, his face still carrying a trace of innocence mixed with stubbornness. Who made you kneel here? Juju strode over to pull him up, but Dijiang dodged her hand, his face still cold. Don't trouble yourself over him, princess. His Majesty ordered him to kneel a full month. He's only half a day in. Juju went still. Why would father give an order like that? His Majesty says Southerners are treacherous and their hearts unreadable. He means to make an example of him to intimidate the enemy. Juju looked back at the stubborn boy. Kneeling like this will ruin his legs. He's only a shield for the Southern Kingdom. Why treat him this way? The novel says Dijiang's knees never healed, and every rainy day brought unbearable pain. This must be why. No wonder that after he destroys Western Chu, he cuts the legs off the entire royal family. Since it's my father's order, I truly can't let you stand. And with that, she took Dijiang's hand. But don't worry. I'm going to find my father right now and have him revoke it. Then she turned and left without looking back, leaving Dijiang kneeling there alone, dazed. After a moment, he reminded himself coldly, "What were you just daydreaming about? No one is going to help you." She only needed an excuse to leave. Don't nurse that kind of pointless hope. Elsewhere, Emperor Zhaoning saw Juju come running and gathered her into his arms. "Did you come running because you missed your father? Why are you so out of breath? Has someone been bullying you? Tell your father, I'll deal with them." "Nobody's bullying Juju. It's just, I heard you made the hostage kneel for a month, so I wanted." The tyrant cut her off. "You went to the hostage lodge without me? That hostage didn't hurt you, did he?" Juju was fine. She only wanted her freebie dad to stop making the boy kneel. He's the child of destiny. By the time he unites the realm and wipes out the Western Chu royal family with his own hands, it'll be too late. The tyrant came to his senses. He'd assumed Dijiang was merely a southern pawn, never that he was the key to the kingdom's destruction. "I understand now. Making him kneel solves nothing. I should simply kill him." Juju froze. "Did I phrase something wrong?" Dijiang is the male lead of the novel, chosen by heaven. Killing him won't work. It will only deepen his hatred of Western Chu. Emperor Zhaoning heard her and had to agree. A child of heaven cannot be killed. He knew that better than anyone. He himself had survived countless assassinations. That he lived to take the throne was fate and nothing else. Juju was nearly in tears with worry. The hostage absolutely must not be killed. Spare him a way out today, and it may be Western Chu's way out tomorrow. Only then did the tyrant relent. "Very well, no more kneeling. Treat him normally from now on." Meanwhile, Dijiang knelt alone in the small courtyard. But ever since Juju left, he had felt restless. How long have I been kneeling? How long since that little princess left? At that thought, he slapped himself. Stop dreaming in broad daylight. She isn't coming back. Then a voice announcing the princess's arrival cut through his thoughts. Dijiang looked up, stunned. She really came back. With her father's approval in hand, Juju went straight to the lodge. She was shouting before she was even through the gate. "Little brother, Juju is here to keep her promise." Father agreed. No more kneeling. Dijiang stared at her, unable to believe it. The little princess hadn't lied to him after all. She really was helping him. Was there truly someone in this world who cared about him that much? Seeing him still frozen, Juju called for a physician, afraid his legs would be permanently damaged. The physician reached out and Dijiang flinched away. He trusted the princess's goodwill, but he was still wary of every other Western Chu official. Juju hurried to reassure him. "Don't be nervous, little brother. The physician only came to treat you." The wounds on his legs looked frightening, but they were surface injuries. A few days of ointment would heal them. Knowing his legs would be fine, Juju finally exhaled. As long as there was no lasting damage, he wouldn't cut everyone's legs off in revenge. Then Juju suddenly pulled him to his feet. "Come with me, little brother. I brought good food too." A lavish spread was laid out shortly after. Juju had the imperial kitchen prepare all of this specially. Eat plenty and get your strength back. Warmth stirred in Dijiang's chest. But on reflection, the princess's kindness was surely genuine. Yet all of this required the Western Chu emperor's approval. Had he really changed his attitude overnight? Over a few words from a princess? Impossible. The emperor of Western Chu was no such kind-hearted man. He must have another purpose. Using the little princess's hand to kill him, for instance. He thought of testing for poison with the silver needle hidden in his ring, but feared it would wound Juju's young heart. Juju clearly saw straight through him. I'll need to find a way to put him at ease. Then an idea flashed through her little head. She'd nearly forgotten the decree she'd obtained from her freebie dad. She had the eunuch read it out to Dijiang. "From today, the hostage of the Southern Kingdom is excused from kneeling. His food, clothing, and lodging are to match inner palace standards." Dijiang couldn't believe it. Not just today. He would be treated well from now on. Was all of this because of her? "The decree is read. Now let's eat together." And she picked up a chicken leg and started gnawing. She'd meant only to taste it so he'd feel safe, but it was so good she couldn't stop. Dijang laughed out loud. Juju was a little embarrassed. That, I was only tasting it for you to see if it was good. It is. The cooking's quite decent. Watching her eat with such delight, every doubt in Dijang's heart dissolved. He even blamed himself for being suspicious. If she wanted him dead, she wouldn't have come in person. Since she had come, she must genuinely care. So when he saw her struggling to peel a shrimp, Dijang peeled it himself and set it in her bowl. With him leading the way, Juju managed to eat quite a lot too. Dijang trusted her completely, but the attendants who came with him to Western Chu remained suspicious. Young master, the emperor of Western Chu despises the southern kingdom. Why would a few words from a little princess make him spare us? And he promised good treatment from now on. For that princess to be so kind to you, Western Chu must be plotting something. Dijang cut him off sharply. Enough. Other people in Western Chu may mean us harm, but not that little princess. Hate whoever you like from now on. Suspect whoever you like. But not her. She was, after all, the first person in this world to help him. Then his expression dimmed. A pity he was trapped here. He had no idea when he might see her again. The next morning, Juju had barely opened her eyes. When she found 3 enormous faces pressed up close, Juju froze for a second, then shrieked. Her brothers were adorable, but waking up to 3 giant faces was terrifying. The 3 of them wilted, clearly wounded by the phrase giant faces. The crown prince looked sheepish. These 2 said you weren't up yet, so I had them bring me in to wait. We'll copy scriptures as punishment when we get back. Fine, they didn't mean to scare me. Juju forgave them generously. But what brings you here so early? Juju, would you like to go out? Juju perked up instantly. She hadn't once left the palace since arriving in this world. Of course. But where are we going? I'll take you to Lady Yu's home. Wonderful. Juju hasn't seen her in ages. Then something occurred to her. Why would he suddenly want to take Juju to see Lady Yu? The 2 princes behind him whispered. General Yu doesn't want his daughter married into the palace and has already asked father to refuse. The crown prince fears losing face, so he's bringing Juju along. Juju's face fell. Really? So he only wants to use Juju? The crown prince cleared his throat. That's only part of the reason. Don't you like Lady Yu? Maybe this time you'll get to touch her cheek. Juju's eyes lit up. Really? And if I don't? If you don't, I'll be your horse and you can ride me until you're satisfied. Juju agreed instantly. Win and I get a horse ride, lose and I touch Lady Yu's cheek. Either way, I come out ahead. The crown prince thumped his chest. This time I guarantee you'll get to touch her. The reckoning came fast. Never mind touching her cheek. The 2 of them couldn't even get through the Yu family gate. A cold wind blew past, leaving brother and sister looking utterly forlorn at the door. This future father-in-law of mine is heartless. I am the crown prince. Do I have no dignity at all? Juju muttered to herself. General Yu's household is grand and lacks for nothing. But he adores taro. Bring him some taro and he'll open that door for certain. Hearing her, the crown prince saw the light. Bringing Juju was indeed the wise choice. So they went to the most out-of-the-way Western market, and with great difficulty bought taro from a merchant from far away. By the time they returned to the residence, dusk had fallen. The door opened and the servant came out ready to send them away. But at the word taro, his manner changed instantly. Please wait in the reception hall. I'll inform the master at once. A while later, seated in the hall, the crown prince was still on edge. Juju didn't hold it against him. A marriage proposal is a serious thing. A little nervousness is nothing to be ashamed of. A voice announced General Yu. A lean old man walked into the room. His expression was stern and cold, genuinely a little frightening. But then he noticed Juju beside him, and the cold face of a second ago turned instantly warm. So the princess has come too. Why didn't you tell me sooner? I'd have met you at the gate myself. And you brought me taro. How thoughtful. I've been craving it for years. Juju was speechless. So this is what General Yu is really like. Seizing his good mood, she spoke up. In that case, will you hear the crown prince out? Ah, so they came prepared. However, the old man's face changed in a heartbeat. If you've come to propose a marriage, abandon the idea. Juju nearly rolled her eyes out of her head. General Yu is unreasonable. He refused before the crown prince said a single word. Is the match I've worked so hard for going to collapse right here? What's wrong with my brother? 2 eyes and 1 mouth, no more and no less. Why strike his name off the moment he walks in? General Yu looked troubled. His Highness is, of course, a man of exceptional standing. It's only that I already have someone in mind for my daughter's husband. Liu Pei, son of the Vice Minister of Works, proposed some time ago. He is a fine-looking man and a gentleman. I accepted that match long ago, so I asked His Highness to look elsewhere. The Crown Prince panicked. He wanted to press further, but General Yu had clearly decided. He didn't want his daughter in the palace, so he'd rushed the betrothal. Juju could only scoff inwardly. What kind of gentleman is this Liu Pei? The novel says he's lecherous and brutal, haunting the pleasure quarters every night and beating his servants without cause. If General Yu would visit the flower district just once, he'd see straight through Liu Pei. The Crown Prince heard her and was overjoyed. Juju really is our matchmaker. With her here, nothing is impossible. While Juju was still working out how to tell General Yu, the Crown Prince already had a plan. He patted her head. You've been sitting a long time, Juju. You must be bored. Shall I take you out to see the streets? Juju understood at once. Wonderful. There's a night market in the flower district nearby, full of fun things. Princess, absolutely not. It's late. The night market is dangerous at this hour. Juju made her most pitiful face. Then why don't you come with us, General? You're so capable. Surely you can protect us. General Yu cleared his throat, quietly pleased. Very well, I'll accompany you. They soon reached the night market. General Yu not only carried Juju the entire way without setting her down, he also bought her a little bamboo dragonfly. Do you like it, Juju? If you do, I'll buy more. Juju did like it, but something more important was waiting, and she couldn't delay any longer. Just then a commotion carried from a distance, mixed with a woman's weeping. Liu Pei had delivered himself, so Juju suggested they go and look. They arrived to find Liu Pei jabbing a finger at the woman in front of him. I've seen plenty of women play hard to get. Come with me today and I'll see you well-fed and finely dressed. The woman knelt on the ground, pleading. Days ago, you people tormented my sister to death. My family doesn't even dare pursue it. Please let me go. Liu Pei's face darkened. Don't push your luck. Come with me today or I'll cut up that face of yours. Listening to her beg, General Yu's fist clenched until the veins stood out. Then one of his men noticed. Young master, your father-in-law is standing right over there. Liu Pei sneered. That old fossil never goes out at night. How else do you think I've kept this hidden so long? Then a voice called out Liu Pei's name and stopped him where he stood. His stomach dropped. He turned, ready with an excuse, and took a fist to the face. Call it my own blindness for misjudging you. Today's a lesson. Tomorrow I'll have you hauled before the magistrate. As for the marriage, forget it. And he threw a few more punches. Watching General Yu work, Juju quietly prayed for the Crown Prince. He'd better treat Lady Yu well, otherwise not even the gods could save him. A while later, they returned to the Yu residence. General Yu cleared his throat. Forgive the display today. I truly misjudged Liu Pei. Let's consider it never happened. Then he ordered dinner served, determined to host the little princess properly. Just then Yu Wanyin walked out. Juju greeted her brightly. Lady Yu, the Crown Prince and I both missed you. Come sit with us. Yu Wanyin and the Crown Prince glanced at each other, and the faintest color rose in both their faces. Thank you both for thinking of me. Then I'll sit here. Watching them, the old general understood. He hadn't wanted his daughter in the palace, but clearly these two had held each other in their hearts for some time. Seeing him waver, Juju seized her chance. Grandfather Yu, since Lady Yu has no betrothal anymore, can she be with the Crown Prince now? General Yu nearly spat out his tea. The little princess says exactly what she thinks. Still, the matter couldn't be put off any longer. The Crown Prince swallowed nervously. Then General Yu's face turned solemn. Your Highness, I have decided to give you my daughter's hand. The Crown Prince was overcome. He looked at Yu Wanyin and found her looking back. Their eyes met and both flushed to the roots of their hair. He bowed to his father-in-law at once, promising to send the betrothal gifts the very next day. General Yu nodded, satisfied. The palace was a treacherous place, but the Crown Prince's feelings ran deep. And Wanyin truly favored him. It seemed he was a good match after all. Juju was happy for them from the bottom of her heart and ran over to grab Yu Wanyin's hand and refused to let go. I finally got to touch Lady Yu's cheek. Juju could hardly contain her joy. Then something occurred to her. If I touched her cheek, doesn't that mean no horse ride from the Crown Prince? Since it was so late, they stayed the night at a residence outside the palace. That evening, the crown prince came to thank Juju. She lay in bed pretending to sleep, sulking. I did all that and he won't give me a horse ride. Juju decided to ignore him for one night. The crown prince came over and poked her. How about your brother gives you that horse ride? Juju shot upright, delighted. My brother is the best. She'd touched Lady Yu's cheek and gotten her horse ride. The two of them were having a fine time. When Chinke came in to report, the second prince heard your good news and has come to congratulate you and says he has something important to tell you. The crown prince had been close to the second prince since childhood and had him shown in at once. But Juju frowned at the news. The second prince? He's no good at all. He hides the fact that he's not truly a prince and flatters my brother deliberately so he can pull him off the throne. The crown prince's stomach dropped. Is my second brother really that kind of man? No wonder he looks nothing like any of the other princes. And his own mother despised him from childhood, so he associated only with me. Juju wanted to warn her brother, but feared saying it would hurt him. Still, a man as crooked as the second prince was best cut off early. The crown prince looked at this tiny girl who was always thinking of him and was deeply moved. He immediately had the second prince sent away. If he comes again, find any excuse to refuse him. I do not wish to see him. Juju was thrilled. When did my brother get so clear-sighted? He was nothing like the fool described in the novel. It only strengthened her resolve to spare him that tragic ending. Hearing her, the crown prince felt warm inside. At least he had Juju, who was truly on his side. Early the next morning, the crown prince took the betrothal gifts to the Yu family. Juju woke and couldn't find him, so she pestered Nanny Gui to take her out to the streets. Nanny Gui worried it was dangerous and suggested waiting for the crown prince to return. But after enough wheedling, Nanny Gui gave in. What she never expected was that the moment they stepped outside, someone had eyes on them. A mysterious figure lurked behind a wall corner. I followed her this long. At last the chance has come. Out for the first time, Juju was wildly excited and meant to taste every street snack the palace didn't have. Nanny Gui, do you know where to find them? Then a large hand suddenly hoisted her into the air. I know where the good food is. Let me take you. The first prince grinned smugly. All that following paid off. At last, a chance to get close to Juju. It's her first time out of the palace, everything unfamiliar. If I feed her well and show her a good time, she'll surely take a liking to me. But when he looked down, Juju's face had gone dark. Could you put me down? Why are you carrying me like a puppy? Do you still resent Juju? The first prince froze. Why is this nothing like I planned? I was just so happy to see you that I got carried away. How about I take you for something good to eat? There's a bun shop nearby better than the Imperial Kitchen. I'll carry you there right now. That only made things worse. Does he think my legs are too short and I'm too slow? The first prince groaned inwardly. Why does she always misread me? I should have been kinder at the banquet. At the bun shop, Juju studied the menu and hit a new problem. So many kinds of bun. Which one do I pick? The first prince saw his chance to shine. Let me recommend something. Their pork buns are wonderful. But we have pork buns in the palace. Weren't we eating things the palace doesn't have? He changed tack quickly. Then you've surely never tried their house filling. Why not try it this time? Seeing Juju nod. The first prince let out a breath. Thank heavens I can hear her thoughts. Keep this up and I'll close the distance with her. Wait here, Juju, I'll go order. And off he went, already imagining the surprise he'd give his little sister. But 2.5 minutes later, Juju stared blankly at the mountain of buns before her. Is he trying to make me burst? Ordering this much when we can't finish it is such a waste. The first prince thumped his chest. Don't worry, I'll eat it all. Only then did Juju pick one up. The buns were good, but far too many people were watching. Look at those two, they ordered a mountain of buns. One meal for them is a month of food for me. Who'd have thought a girl that small could put away so much in one sitting? Juju couldn't sit still any longer. She had no wish to be known as a bottomless pit. Juju is full. I want to walk around outside. The first prince started to follow, and was stopped on the spot. You have to finish every bun before you go. No wasting. Out on the street, Juju was still sulking. My eldest brother is a complete fool. Juju doesn't want people gossiping about her because of him. She spotted a jewelry stall by the road, and thought of picking out a hairpin as a gift for her mother. Just then, a voice behind her called out, You, the little runt over there. My sister wants that golden jade collar you're wearing. Take it off and hand it over. Who are you? Why should I give you my things? Juju clutched the gold and jade collar at her neck. Her mother had it made from her own dowry jewelry. She could never give it away. The boy laughed with contempt. You dress well enough, but you're clearly a bumpkin. I am Jiang Cheng, cousin to Liu Pei himself. It's an honor that my sister wants something of yours. Now hand it over. Juju almost laughed. This one is slow on the uptake. Never mind that Liu Pei can't even save himself right now. Robbing someone in the open street, if he backs you up, you'll both end up in prison. Furious, Jiang Cheng signaled his men to take it by force. Nanny Gui hurried to shield the little princess. But before they could touch her, a meat bun came flying through the air. It struck Jiang Cheng square in the face. The first prince had already stepped in front of Juju. Let's see who dares lay a hand on her. With him there, Juju relaxed completely. My eldest brother is a warrior. Nothing can happen with him here. The first prince flushed at that. If it puts Juju at ease, then all those years of training weren't wasted. And who are you? You don't know your place at all. You haven't even got front teeth and you're sticking your nose in. Shut your mouth. Nothing stung the first prince like his missing teeth. I am the first prince of this dynasty. Are you certain you want to fight me, boy? Jiang Cheng burst out laughing. The first prince dressed like that? Eating buns at a street stall? By that logic, is the runt behind you the 18th princess? You're all talk. Men, get in there. Take back what's mine. The corner of the first prince's mouth curled. Want to fight? I don't single anyone out. Every one of you standing here is worthless. Then he signaled Juju to step back so she wouldn't be caught in the fighting. Juju cheered from behind. It's fine if you get hurt a little, but whatever you do, don't lose. You can set your mind at ease on that. Your brother has led armies for years. I've cut down Hu cavalry when they came for us. A handful of street thugs is nothing. Juju's blood was up. She wanted to teach them a lesson alongside him. The first prince heard her. He couldn't let her near the fight, but he could put on a show she'd enjoy. So he listened to her thoughts and dropped one man with a left hook. Then swept another off his feet with his right. Juju stared, transfixed. My brother is amazing. Wherever I think, that's where he strikes. Jiang Cheng had landed on his backside in fright, but he was still shouting. You'll keep, if you've got the nerve. I'm getting my father right now. He's a high official in the palace. You're all finished. They watched him run off, cursing all the way. Brother and sister pulled faces at his back at the same time. They weren't afraid. However big an official your father is, he's not as big as ours. Then a woman nearby kindly warned them. You two should run while you still can. They were clearly in the wrong. Why should we run? You don't know how it is here. The Zhang family trades on their rank and there's no crime they haven't committed. If you stay, you may not survive. What nerve! The first prince was angry enough to put away 10 more buns. Juju chimed in beside him. Exactly. It's outrageous. They have to pay for it. A while later, Jiang Cheng returned with a crowd. Look, father. Those two bullied me. Jiang Qingshan sneered. Don't worry, son. Your father is behind you. Today they'll learn their lesson. He strode over and grabbed the first prince's shoulder. Turn around and kneel to me, boy. Beg now, and I might still leave you a whole corpse. Is that so? The first prince seized his wrist. Jiang Qingshan, your son didn't recognize me. Don't tell me you don't either. Open those dog eyes and look carefully at who I am. Jiang Qingshan looked and went rigid. The first prince? He dropped to his knees in terror. This lowly one has eyes but no sight. Be merciful and forgive us. Jiang Cheng's face drained white beside him. He really is the first prince? Before he finished the sentence, he took a slap. Wretched boy, kneel. You've ruined your own father. Didn't you tell me to look after my sister? I only took that collar because she wanted it. Watching them turn on each other left Juju speechless. The first prince gave the order for Wenqian and Wendy to haul them to the magistrate and to investigate every past case of them abusing the common people. Then he asked whether Juju had been frightened. She hadn't been, but she was worried. The novel said the chief magistrate was no honest man. A little silver and he'd release them to prey on the people again. The first prince's heart jolted. The chief magistrate is that kind of corrupt official? Then I'll handle it myself. Juju, shall we go to the magistrate's office together and oversee the case? Juju brightened. My brother thinks of everything. That solved exactly what worried her. Once the first prince had carried Juju away, a gaunt old man slowly stepped out. Was that little girl Juju? The young man beside him urged patience. Don't rush, father. I know you miss them, but we've only just returned to the city. It isn't the right time. The old man sighed, his face bleak. I've waited 3 years. A little longer won't matter. Juju arrived at the magistrate's office to hear an argument inside. My lord, shielding the Zhang and Liu families in this case is simply wrong. The chief magistrate was clearly irritated. And what if I do shield them? You're a minor official. What right have you to question me? Juju's face darkened. So this magistrate really is corrupt. A pity the deputy magistrate, honest as he was, ranked 1 step lower and couldn't stop him. The chief magistrate even warned him not to block his income. The first prince is a warrior. He knows nothing of trials and will forget in a few days. Then we take the money and let them go. Your abacus rattles loud enough for me to hear it. The voice behind him drained the color from the magistrate's face. Yo, your highness, this is a misunderstanding. The first prince kicked him to the ground. I am a warrior. I don't understand your explanations. He had the chief magistrate thrown into prison. Your post will be filled temporarily by the deputy. As for the reason, I will report it to my father myself. Juju silently applauded. It might be temporary now, but her freebie dad would certainly promote him. The deputy magistrate hurried to thank the first prince. I will judge fairly and never betray your highness's trust. But then Juju remembered. In the novel, the deputy exposed the chief magistrate's conduct and was murdered on the spot by hired men. Now it seemed this would happen sooner. She warned him at once. For the next few days, whatever happens, do not step out of your sedan. The deputy didn't understand what she meant. He agreed readily enough, but clearly wasn't taking it seriously. Juju saw through his politeness but couldn't think how to explain. If he ignores her, something will happen, and she's too small to explain it clearly. I'll handle it myself. The first prince reassured her at once. I'll have men follow him for the next few days. If he so much as steps out of that sedan, we break his legs. He'll behave. That night, the deputy magistrate came home very late. Passing an alley, he heard a child crying outside. He asked the steward what was happening. But the steward had been warned by the first prince and advised him to ignore it. The deputy's heart was simply too soft. What if it's an abandoned infant? It'll freeze to death. Stop the sedan. I must see for myself. So he ignored the steward's protests and climbed out on his own. While the two were still arguing, a hand chopped down on his shoulder, and he collapsed on the spot. Wentian and Wendy emerged from the shadows. Don't be afraid. We serve the first prince. Take your master home. Leave the infant to us. The next day, the first prince teased Juju with the story. Guess what Wentian and Wendy found when they went into that alley? Juju stamped her foot impatiently. Stop dragging it out. Tell me, if you don't, I'll tickle you. The first prince threw up his hands in surrender. All right, I'll tell you. There was no crying infant in that alley at all. Only an actor skilled at imitating voices. Wentian and Wendy took him for questioning, and sure enough, he was working for the chief magistrate, sent to move against the deputy. Juju clenched her small fists in anger. That chief magistrate really is a villain. Don't worry, Juju. Father has already stripped him of his post and sentenced him. The Zhang and Liu families got exactly what they deserved. Liu Pei was sentenced to death, awaiting execution. Jiang Qingshan was exiled and his children sent to serve in the palace. It was a deeply satisfying ending. With the villains punished, Juju could return to the palace with an easy mind. The first prince hurried to stop her. Stay at my residence 2 more days first. I hear you like horse rides. How about I be your horse? Juju's eyes lit up. My brother is so tall. Riding him would be great fun. But Juju had something more important to do. According to the novel, the time to clear her mother's and brother's names was almost here. She had to return and prepare. The first prince heard her and understood the matter couldn't wait. If you've decided to return, then I'll escort you. Back at the palace, the tyrant had waited day and night and finally had Juju home. The moment he saw her, he held her tight and wouldn't let go. Did you enjoy yourself outside the palace? Juju nodded eagerly. The crown prince and my eldest brother were both wonderful to me, as long as you enjoyed it. Next time your father will take you out himself. Emperor Zhaoning was all smiles on the surface while cursing both sons 800 times inwardly. They finally gave Juju back. I missed her terribly. Then Juju brought something up. I hear your sworn sister, Princess Wen, returns to the capital today. The faces of Emperor Zhaoning and Consort Li darkened at the same moment. Where did you hear that? Juju muttered to herself. Judging by their reactions, this isn't something to bring up lightly. But Princess Wen had finally returned. She could not let this chance slip. Years ago at a banquet, Prince Dun had eaten from Emperor Zhaoning's dish by mistake and died of poison. Emperor Zhaoning flew into a rage and ordered a strict investigation. At the time, Princess Wen, the late emperor's adopted daughter, took a large sum from the real culprit and pinned the crime on the 13th prince, who had no favor to protect him. In the end, the 13th prince went to prison an innocent man, and her mother, his birth mother, was dragged down with him. After that, Princess Wen fled the capital. Now, at last, she had returned. Juju had to uncover the truth and clear her brother and her mother. So even if it earned her hatred, she had to convince her freebie dad to reopen the case. Hearing her, the tyrant's face darkened, so there was more to that case after all. All these years, he had let mother and daughter suffer far too much. He decided at once to reopen it. I want the 13th prince released and the events of that year examined in full. But too much time had passed, and Princess Wen wouldn't stay long. Overturning the verdict would be difficult. Juju was thinking, to get to the truth, the only way is through Princess Wen. That year, she took a large sum from the real culprit, along with a pill that could save her own mother. That's why she testified that my 13th brother poisoned him. But during the exchange, she carelessly left evidence behind, and the culprit had used it to extort money from her by letter for years. If we can find Princess Wen's correspondence from recent years, the truth should come out quickly. The tyrant grasped it immediately and ordered every letter of hers examined. She testified against the 13th prince herself, so there must be a trail. Juju looked at him with adoration. Father is so clever today. Today? Your father is always clever. Still, not as clever as Juju. Noticing his odd expression, she blinked up at him. Father, why are you looking at me like that? Because Juju is adorable, of course. Father could look at you forever. Juju made a face and spat. Men really do get greasy the moment they hit middle age. Consort Li laughed at her daughter's thoughts. Seeing her mother happy made Juju happy too. The tyrant's gaze on Consort Li could have spun silk. He didn't know when it started, but whenever she was happy, he found himself grinning like a fool. The matter is urgent and time is short. I'll go work on the case. This time I will give you both an answer about our 13th. Once he had gone, Juju went to give her mother the gift she'd prepared. But searching herself, she discovered her scent pouch was gone. Her mother comforted her, saying she must have dropped it on the way back, and that the thought alone was enough. But Juju insisted on looking. What was inside was her most precious thing. A while later, she reached the Imperial Garden and spotted the deputy head of the Imperial Medical Academy at once. What he held in his hand was her scent pouch. Juju went over and called out to him, "That pouch in your hand is mine. May I have it back?" The deputy hurried to apologize. "I didn't know it was yours, princess. I only opened it to find the owner." And he returned the pouch to her. "It's only that I saw a prescription inside. It seems to be an antidote long thought lost. Might the princess lend it to me for study?" Juju refused outright. The formula was her treasure and could never leave her hands. In her last life, the orphanage director had warned her carefully. This formula can save people and it can harm them. If the wrong person learns it, someone will make poison and sell cures for profit. The deputy didn't press. "Then I'll consider that I never saw it. Rest assured, princess." But in a dark corner, a maid had overheard everything. She went straight back and reported it to Princess Wen. "I just saw the deputy of the medical academy meet the 18th princess. It seems she has an antidote formula." "The 18th princess? They say she's the new favorite the emperor dotes on most." The corner of Princess Wen's mouth lifted in a cold smile. "I put her brother in prison once. I certainly have ways to deal with her." She gave orders at once to shadow the 18th princess. She had returned to beg medicine for her own mother, and would take that formula by any means. Elsewhere, Juju had just returned to Qiushui Hall to find her freebie dad had brought her a puppy. "Well, Juju, do you like your gift?" Juju held the puppy and wouldn't put it down. "It's got a whole coat of yellow fur, so I'll call it Xiaohei. Little Black." Juju looked at Xiaohei, her eyes dimming. In her last life, she had wanted a dog, but she never had the money. The tyrant heard her and blamed himself. "I deserve to be cursed. I should have brought her a dog long ago." He stroked her small head. "Then from now on, let Xiaohei protect Juju." She nodded eagerly. But the warm moment lasted barely 4 seconds before she ran off with the dog. "I have to bond with Xiaohei. Don't follow me." The tyrant watched her go with pure indulgence. As long as Juju was happy, nothing else mattered. Later, in the imperial garden, Juju was playing with Xiaohei when Princess Wen suddenly appeared. She had kept men following Juju and had finally caught her alone. She walked briskly over and greeted the girl with a kindly face. "I am the chief consort of the Mengdan tribe. I came to court today to pay respects, and happened upon the little princess, whom I like very much. This is the rarest candy of the Mengdan tribe, a gift for the 18th princess to try." Juju looked at the woman in foreign dress. "So she's Princess Wen, the one who pinned false crimes on my mother and brother. Fawning over me out of nowhere. She's up to nothing good. Juju wants none of it." Refused to her face by a child, Princess Wen was both embarrassed and irritated. That candy was precious even in Mengdan, reserved for the chieftain and his chief consort. Could she know the old grudge between me and her mother and be humiliating me on purpose? On reflection, surely not. What could a 5-year-old understand? Perhaps she has simply never seen this candy. "Try a piece, princess. It's soft and chewy. You can't buy it in the capital at any price." And she reached out to take Juju's hand. Only to have it thrown off, Juju said, "No, I have no interest in anything you offer." Princess Wen's stomach dropped. No interest in what I offer? So she does know what happened, and she hates me for it. In that case. Princess Wen dropped the act. "18th princess, you forced my hand." She gritted her teeth and reached to seize it. Juju cried out for help. But the next second, Xiaohei shot forward and clamped down on Princess Wen's skirt, refusing to let go. Princess Wen went white with fear. She ran, and the dog chased. Around and around the imperial garden went one woman and one dog. Just then the tyrant and the Empress Dowager passed by, and their faces darkened at the sight. Princess Wen saw Emperor Zhaoning behind her and grabbed at him like a drowning woman at a rope. "Your Majesty, Empress Dowager, save me." Emperor Zhaoning gave a single command. And Xiaohei dropped obediently to the ground, perfectly still. Only then did Princess Wen exhale, hurrying to thank His Majesty for saving her. But Emperor Zhaoning was suspicious. He had trained Xiaohei himself, and the dog never bit anyone without cause. "What did you do to him? To behave so recklessly in the palace? If you had collided with the Empress Dowager, could you have borne it?" Princess Wen calculated quickly. The truth would certainly get her punished. And there had been no one else around. Better to lay it all on the little princess. She lifted her head, the picture of injured innocence. It was the 18th princess. I kindly offered her candy. She didn't want it, fine, but then she set her dog on me deliberately. For the 18th princess to be so arrogant and unruly, Your Majesty must punish her severely.